Similarly, Ziggs is putting up amazing numbers as well, and Graves being the first pick is no surprise because, I mean, if you just look at Worlds before the preseason patch, he was incredibly dominant, and now that we're back in preseason, nothing really changed, so he's just still right at the top.
Yep, and another nod to King Amazin's Jinx, one of his best champions. He played it many times over the course of last spring. So both a S tier champion and a targeted ban. Cannot let him get that. But for the bot lane of DePaul, Leona is locked in for Ion Q, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a really strong pick. Really good engaged. Doesn't show too much about the draft, but this talent pick certainly does. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Leona is a really great champion. She was already super high priority, and then for some reason, Riot thought to themselves, yeah, I think we should make tank supports better. Uh, so they put in a new
Oh,
item for her, and Leona started popping off. Talon with First Strike is an incredible pick. We already saw Talon before preseason running Electrocute in the jungle, and he was already high priority, but now he has an even better rune that lets him snowball his mid game unbelievably hard and absolutely take over. He is one of the top junglers in the game, so I'm not at all surprised to see him. And additionally, he can just be flexed mid lane if some counter picks come through. God,
so
they're picking too fast for me to keep up. Vayne
toxic
Lulu,
gerbil. Oh, let me
really
take
strong.
this
Yeah.
one.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
the last time
Uh-huh.
Butler took a game off of DePaul was in the spring of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time Butler took a game off of DePaul, it was on the back of a Vayne comp.
Yeah.
So I really like this pick for Butler. You were mentioning earlier on that it is one of those S tier picks along with Jinx,
It's insane. Vayne right
and
now is sitting at a 53.5% solo queue win rate, which that's
Woo.
good on its own. But when you consider the fact that Vayne is famously one of the hardest champions in the entire game, when a hard champion has a high play rate and a high win rate, you know it's absurd.
hmm and along with that, we have potentially the best bot lane in the Big East, Mojo
Mhm.
Romo, on his
Absolutely.
Lulu, and Carthago, the mechanical genius, on Vayne. Right, that's a really strong lane to play through, but.
Mhm.
DePaul doesn't want anything to do with that. They draft Draven for all in to try to
Yep.
shut down that lane, and Malphite, just point and click R. I want to get on the Vayne. I want to shut her down. Do you think that's enough to be able to take down the Vayne, or do you think Lulu is going to be too much, and Vayne
I
will be
think
able to kite
that
around?
if you're playing it properly in these later team fights,
Mhm.
Vayne's going to be able to play around the Malphite pretty effectively. Early on, though, the onus is on Draven Leona, right? That's an incredibly strong early game. That is absolutely a kill lane. And Vayne levels, 1 through 5, 1 through 6, before she starts really getting points into her W, is an incredibly vulnerable champion, especially to just Leona Draven all in. So we're probably going to see Vayne forced to run cleanse here for things like the Malphite slow, the Malphite attack speed reduction, Leona's everything, right? So the heal isn't going to be there, and you're going to be more vulnerable to that burst and that crazy early game damage from the Talon and the Draven coming through. The Malphite I love as a pick here, right? You don't see Butler as mid laner. You know they're going to pick an AP mid laner, but they're hard committed into this Graves and this Vayne, these big physical damage source. I guess Vayne's kind of a true damage source, but you can lower her attack speed, and that's all that really matters if you're playing Malphite. So that
True.
works well. And Rise is the last pick from Butler, which is really great into this pretty short ranged comp that DePaul has assembled for themselves, right? Talon, Draven, Leona, Malphite are all very short range. And I personally would have loved to see a Siege Mage picked up from DePaul. I feel like I say this every time I'm on the broadcast. I think Siege Mages are really undervalued in the current competitive meta. We have tons and tons of short range comps being drafted, right? We have Graves, Vayne, and Rise in the enemy team. If you just pick Xerath, who's touching you, right? Even if you get ulted by Ornn, you're still going to be so far away that no
Nobody
one
can
can do
collapse.
anything to you.
Yeah, and I mean, Victor, nothing to scoff at. He's actually one of the
Oh,
highest priority
Victor's,
mid
yeah.
laners
Victor
right now
is
with
really strong.
with the item changes.
Hmm.
But potentially, he doesn't have that long range like you were saying Siege Mages has, but that gravity well, right? That is going to be really, really important and hard for the Vayne and the Rise to actually work around, right? That's going to be a zone blocked off that Butler cannot walk through. And say they try to walk through the river on the other side, that is a perfect opportunity for a Malphite ultimate or a Leona ultimate, that solar flare. And if you get caught up in, multiple members in any of those abilities, your team is getting wiped by this Victor, this Draven. There's just so much burst on it.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
it's definitely going
if
to
you look
be
at it, yeah, even if you look at it
tricky.
the other way around, right? It's Leona R setting up a gravity well, so you get stunned, and then you're immediately locked inside of another stun, right? It's just this great follow-up ability as well as a zone control tool, and it makes Victor really powerful, especially when you can't get burst out by something like a Rise catching you or a Graves catching you unaware, because you can just go that Crown of the Shattered Queen that every Victor has been losing their minds over because of how good it is on that champion.
Mhm. And something that's going to be really exciting this game is seeing King Amazin's Draven, right? We've seen him play a lot of scaling champions, a lot of slow picks. He's famous for Kaisa, for Jinx. But this is a very different look for him, that all-in, ruthless lane aggression. So, it's going to be a different look for the DePaul team comp, but definitely an exciting one. I think the onus is on them to win the early game. Would you agree?
Yeah, I absolutely think that this is DePaul's game to win as opposed to Butler's, right? They are the ones who have the early game comp. Butler has one of the most insane, greedy scaling comps I've ever seen, right? You have Vayne, Graves, and Rise as your carries, and then you just have a tank in the top lane and an enchanter support, right? If this game goes 30, 35 minutes, it's just so hard for Butler
Not
to
only a
lose this
tank.
game. Yeah. Or it's like the premium tank for going late game, right? So it's
A
gonna
tank
be
that gives
really,
ornaments.
yeah, exactly. It's gonna be really hard for Butler to lose this game if it goes long. But on the flip side of it, you have arguably a losing mid matchup. I don't know. I think this Victor pick is a little suspicious. It just doesn't really play for Butler for DePaul's win condition. But you have a hard winning bot lane, you have a winning jungle matchup, and you have a support who can roam and make plays around the map, while Lulu typically kind of gets stuck sitting bot lane, keeping the Vayne alive against the Draven. So you have better support mobility, you have a winning jungle matchup, a winning mid matchup, a top matchup where literally nothing is ever going to happen unless a jungler shows up.
I,
Um,
I think I'd
so really,
challenge the
yeah.
winning mid matchup. I
Mhm.
think that both of these champions, um, they're strong in their own sense, and I think a lot of it will come down to the jungle matchup in 2v2. I know Levi is a very proficient laner,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I've seen him win some pretty even matchups before, so we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Victor Rise is hard Victor favorite. I think it's mostly a skill matchup, but Victor definitely comes online a lot earlier than a Rise does. If we're talking like, one item, maybe Victor has
Hmm.
one ability upgraded, he's definitely going to be able to
Yeah.
beat the Rise. He's going to be able to out contest the wave clear. He's going to have first move. In the early 2v2s or 3v3s topside, right, Victor's going to be more useful than Rise. So DePaul is going to need to play around their early pressure, and they're going to need to get their Draven fed because once again, just looking at these comps, right, it really does feel like it's all going to come down to whether or not this Vayne can survive the early game.
True. I think a lot of that, coincidentally, goes on to Jashin in the top lane on the Ornn pick. It may not be the most glamorous role, but if he's winning the top lane, right?
Yeah.
Or on the flip side, if Gary's winning the top lane, if someone is able to net a teleport advantage in the top lane, I think that will be nearly game breaking, right? Because having that extra member, especially if a fight breaks out at level 6 in the bot lane, could be the deciding factor in the game. Because if Draven goes up, a kill or two, with that bonus cash and gold, it's going to be, an immense hurdle to try to get over. Or if the side of Butler, generates a teleport advantage and they get Vayne ahead, how are you going to break a Vayne Lulu who's ahead? They're going to have all the opportunity to farm throughout the game as they're able to take it slowly at their own pace. So I have eyes on this top lane matchup um, between Gary and Jason to see who is able to win that war of attrition.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to have eyes on this top lane matchup, but it is something we're definitely gonna have to pay attention to. It's also very volatile. When you have these tank v tank matchups,
Mhm.
the junglers become incredibly important because neither of these champions have the mobility to escape a gank. And before they get their big armor items coming in that they're gonna have to buy early game, these are pretty squishy champions. Like Ornn early game is not that hard to kill because he doesn't actually have the stats to make himself tanky yet, right? It's not like he's a Leona who gives himself natural durability. He just has, some damaging spells and then he gets extra efficiency because he gets percentage increased stats, right? So if Talon goes top lane, he's going to kill Ornn just as fast as he would kill, like a Graze or a Vayne.
Mhm.
Um, and Ornn can't really get out of a gank if he gets baited into Eing in. And the exact same thing applies in the other way, right? Graves can just run down a Malphite. So I think that if these top laners sort of get too comfortable, we can see a lot of gold being traded the wrong way.
Yep, certainly. And you mentioned Talon there. This is a pick I don't believe we have seen from Reaper before, and
Mhm.
he has been proficient on a whole wheelhouse of champions, so that'll be a very interesting one. But one final thing before we get into the game, and that is Butler's lineup is actually different this week than they have been playing with for a majority of the split. They're playing with a substitute in the top lane and jungle. So Kaisik we saw running top lane
Mhm.
in the last week. Jason playing top lane before that, and normally our or the jungler for Butler we've seen Voltade is not playing today, so a slightly different lineup, but it looks like um, Kaisik got a champion he is comfortable with. He has played the Graves before, so it should be a pretty interesting matchup.
Yeah, and we see First Strike coming out on the Victor. That's a rune that has been very popular recently for people to play on Victor. Uh, I think it's not great. I am personally not a fan of it, but the theory is definitely there, right? Victor is a very item reliant champion, especially on the current patch, where you can now get your really strong items, and if you get them, 400, 500 gold faster, you can really snowball a giant advantage. And into the short range comp that Butler has, Agister has a lot of potential to stack up lots and lots of gold off this rune. Personally, I'm still a fan of the old Phase Rush Victor build. It just makes you so hard to kill. You can kite out this Rise, you can kite out the Vayne and the Graves who are going to be trying to run you down. But I definitely don't think it's like a blunder to take First Strike on Victor. I think both runes definitely have their positives and their negatives. Adversary is just going for that full bursty build where you just get that 10% extra damage from the first strike if you hide it in the bush, if you hit your E first, and then you just get more gold and you can really run people over.
So Reaper taking the ignite on the jungle Talon, that is
Mm-hmm.
also a um, aggressive summoner spell
Pretty
that will
standard.
aid him
Yeah.
in invades and um, I guess ganks in the early game. Like you said, standard because he has that ability to jump around and vault over
We're
many
having some
parts of the
technical
map.
difficulties here, but yeah, Ignite on Talon has been pretty standard in the past. It is sort of what people run. You don't need flash on that champion that badly because you can just jump over all of these walls. Talon is not a champion lacking mobility. The most notable thing to me is the fact that he's running Conqueror instead of First Strike on Talon, which probably signifies he's going to be going for that old Gore Drinker build that we've definitely seen fall out of favor because Gore Drinker was nerfed so heavily on Assassins. It lost that bonus damage based on Mystic Health effect and instead converted it into just pure Omnivamp, which means that the healing you get is overall going to be a little bit reduced. and you don't get the extra damage from being low, which means you're going to be missing out on a lot of damage. So a lot of talents have opted to just go back for a full lethality build, and they just go Eclipse. And similarly to Victor, when you're just trying to one-shot people as fast as possible, the extra gold and the 10% damage increase from first strike can absolutely mean the difference.
And just like that, we are getting into game, I believe. Yes, we are. This is
Yeah,
the
we're here.
last week of the regular season in the first game between Butler and DePaul. Big stakes here, fighting for that second seed, that side selection in playoffs. And this is going to be the first time these two teams pair up against one another this season. Should be exciting as we see an invade coming out level 1.
Ooh, yeah, but it's a full 5-man stack. Is this game in 2x speed right now? I think we're watching a 2x replay. Might want to fix that. In the top lane, by the way, I don't know, I like runes, I guess. The Malphite has Arcane Comet, which is what we typically see Malphites run into like bruiser or ranged matchups to get poke, but it's not something we expect when it's Malphite playing tank versus tank. Usually that ends up being the grasp, like we see on Orin. Comet Malphite is sort of the rune you take when you want to play for that Q-Max playstyle, where you're poking out your opponent, wearing down their sustain, but I mean, when your opponent's an Orin, that's not really going to happen, probably, right? You're just throwing Qs into a Doron shield. So I would have loved to see, a little bit of a different rune selection in the top lane. But overall, the big thing that Comet does do is it gives you access to mana. Oh, the huge Q damage. The big things that taking Comet does is it gives you access to the sorcery tree in general, which allows you to take, Mana Flow Band and Transcendence, which are 2 runes that are very good on Malphite. And you probably could have just taken them as your secondary rune page and gone Resolve primary, but I don't know, Gary probably definitely has methodology here. These players are good, so I'm gonna give him the benefit
sitting
of the
in
doubt.
Diamond 1 at the moment.
Yeah,
definitely a strong top laner.
Yeah.
So there may be a method to his madness. We'll have to see how it plays out for him. But definitely Grasp the Undying being the more traditional rune choice as we look at mid lane. Heavy trading between both these players, looking to get aggressive. But in the bot lane, Reaper's going for a level 3 gank onto Carthago. He flashes away. Ion Q down to 200 health, but King Amazing gets the kill. Tower shot going through. Mojo Romo shuts him down, but it's a 1-for-1 that is almost certainly going to be in favor of. Oh, they're continuing to dive. Reaper getting damage down. He's down to 100 HP. Ion Q falls as well. It's a 2-for-2. A lot invested for the side of DePaul.
That's super worth, yeah. It's a 2-for-2, but if we look, we've blown all of Vane's summoner spells. We've blown all of Lulu's summoner spells. We denied the wave, right? Draven is up 2 kills, or not up 2 kills, he's up a full wave, sorry. I was looking 2 kills on the Lulu as opposed to a kill on Leona and a kill on Talon, right? So you deny gold, you deny EXP, you get gold in the good spots. An amazing roam from Ion Q, predicting the counter jungler from Kaizek. Unfortunately, not actually able to stop it from happening.
Oh, connect with
this
the...
This is a 3v2.
Looks like Kaizek going in. Flash forward by Jason does not get the knockup. Reaper down to 250 HP. Levi out of mana, but Jason shuts him down. It looks like Gary's roaming as well. Jason's in the middle of the enemy team, has double buffs. No flash available though. It looks like he is almost certainly going to go down. Gary flash slaps him and comes out with the double buffs on Malphite. That's got to be huge for Gary in the top lane.
Yeah, I absolutely love this sequence of events for DePaul. You deny Vane's early momentum in the bot lane. You get an EXP and a gold advantage for your Draven. You blow her some, so you can go back later and do the same dive again, and it's guaranteed to work. Then, Ion Q knows that Reaper spent so much time bot lane that Kaizek is going to go for a counter jungle and is already there at the chickens when Kaizek is taking them, and it's a full collapse that gets another 2-for-1 exchange. So Butler at 4 minutes 50 is already up almost 1,000 gold. They're snowballing their winning bot lane. Snow sums on Carthago means he's going to be in an incredible amount of danger in a hard kill lane. And it's 2-1-2 for the Talon, who's going to run away with a lead because he's a snowballing assassin pick.
Most certainly, and we see Levi expending the teleport in the mid lane while Agistar is able to keep his another advantage over to the side of DePaul. the one thing that Butler does have going for it is their farm in the top side of the map, right? Each lane is about up a wave, and Kaisik is up around 2.5 jungle camps over Reaper. So all that early aggression fighting from the side of DePaul has cost them some early CS. But all in all, certainly a DePaul favored game right now.
Yeah, it
Both
is
junglers on the bot side of the map.
Yeah, it is a gold lead for Reaper, but it's an experience lead for Kaisik here. We see level 5, level 4, as it looks like it's another bot play getting stood up, but Butler definitely knows this is happening. Levi already pre-rotating with that Rizar. He's going to be able to Realm Warp in under the tower. Kaisik clearing his plugs, just hovering around, but the dive isn't going to happen. It's Reaper actually hitting the Scuttle Crab before moving on his way. And look at this, it taxes the time of Butler, because Kaisik has to stand here. They don't know where Reaper is, so he has to just sit here doing nothing while Reaper could go and kind of do whatever he wants. And Reaper does decide to go for this bot play, but you just see all this pressure building up, and now it's just a dragon start for the side of DePaul, as Kaisik can't really stop it from happening. It's going to be a free dragon going their way. And
a lot of that came from the mid pressure that Agistar generated. You know, Levi was halfway between mid and bot lane protecting from the dive, and you know, Agistar fast pushed the mid wave and was able to get priority for the next couple waves that gave Reaper the opportunity to take that dragon. So another you know, strong play from the side of DePaul, and they're keeping an even keel for this early game, and you know, using their lead well.
Yeah, next dragon, by the way, is going to be an Infernal, meaning there's still a chance of Chemsoul map coming up, to everyone's dismay. It's gonna be a big 1 and 4. We'll have to find out what happens in about 4 minutes, and that dragon probably ends up getting taken, as we see a lot of pressure going top lane here. Gary has his R, but only half of his health.
Oh, Jason calling his ultimate. 2 people on the way, but they're a little far away right now. Dive was maybe a little preemptive. Levi going for the ultimate. Gary ults away. Kaisik and Levi are here. Gary stunned up in the bush. She's going down, but there's a dive happening on the bot side of the map. This is a 3v2. Kaisik getting bursted out. Reaper cleaning him up. Agistar gets the kill, but Levi and Jason are on the attack. Reaper on the retreat. Smites the Krugs to get some health back. Down to 200 HP. Levi chasing. Will he be able to clean it up? No, he will not. And Butler is routed. They're on the retreat in the topside jungle. Jason trying his best to get away from Gary, but Gary is cleaning him up on the back side of this fight. Will he be able to make it out?
It looks like he just barely will. It's one more auto attack, but Gary, no R, no flash. He's not going to be able to make it happen. The Comet even leaves him alive as we look down at the bot lane, and this is kind of how this matchup goes, right? Because of that early dive, Carthago has not really been able to get much of anything going for himself, and now we see he's down 30 farm, he's down 2 plates, and this Draven, King Amazon, is really going to run away with a lead here. Once this recall comes through, he's going to be buying probably a Dirk and a Van Scepter. He's sitting on 2,500 gold.
That's
that is
a 1k
insane,
gold lead in 9 minutes.
Yeah, it's a 1k gold lead in the bot lane, and also King of Aces is basically sitting on a full mythic's worth of gold between his inventory.
There's a fight.
And,
it's gonna happen now. Iron Cube going on the tower. Kaisik is here. This is a 3v2. King Amazing down low. He's taken down by Carthago. In a change of fates, Carthago is able to shut down King Amazing early, take down the passive gold, and that's huge for the side of Butler.
Yeah, you lose the passive gold. It's such a greedy play from DePaul, right? I'm sitting here talking, you know, King Amazing has all this gold in his inventory. He's up 1,000 gold, right?
Oh, they're fighting on the top side. Jason going in, but he's taken down really fast. He's bursted low. Ultimate onto Levi. Levi is here in a 1v2. Reaper and Gary moving forward, trying to get this Rift Herald. Levi has something to say about it, but Agistar is on his way. He's opting into a 1v3. He has no way out of here. He's got to fight his way out. Gary down to 200 HP. Agistar chasing away Levi, and he was a nuisance, but nothing comes of it.
Gonna be the Herald going the way of DePaul here is, yeah, in the bot lane, right? You don't actually have gold value until you spend your money, so it didn't really matter that King Amazing was up 1,000 gold because the inventories were completely even, and then when he gets caught in a 3v2, he will fall for it. And
Yep.
yeah, on the rest of the map, it's just more trading going on. Herald going the way of DePaul, and now it's probably gonna get dropped before plates fall. And if I'm DePaul, I'm trying to run it bot lane, right? I want to open up the bot side of the map so that we can move our Draven, this big power point for our team, right? Even though he is 2 deaths, he still has the second most gold on the team after Ajastar. So you just want to open up this bot lane, cash in the last of the plates as Reaper is coming down the queue right now. And Carthago's going to miss all of this. He just can't play.
Yeah. This is the power of the Draven Leona. You're not able to contest your own tower if your jungler's not on this side of the map, and you know that is going to be plate gold going over to King Amazing, and it doesn't matter, like you said, if he's 0-2, he's got the CS, he's got the plate gold, he's got the early game priority, and you know I think this is going to lead up really well into that second dragon that DePaul can set up with all of that added pressure from being able to push in an extra wave in the bot lane.
Also, very importantly, right, they get bot tower without using their Herald. There's a little bit of actions coming, but Reaper and IonQ are here, so I think Butler's just going to have to back off, yeah. Importantly, Reaper, in that bot play, did not actually end up using the Rift Herald. He just zoned off Butler's bot lane, and then was able to save that big crash for probably the mid lane. Now that Dragon is spawning, it's Levi getting caught.
Levi, no flash. He's caught in the middle of the enemy team, and Reaper takes him down. Great solar flare from IonQ, and now Kaisik as well, caught out, has nowhere to go, and King Amazing shuts him down. That's huge for the Draven, getting some of that gold back and certainly pushing him over the edge for that mythic item completion.
Yeah, it's going to be a second Drake going the way of DePaul, and it's probably going to be the Herald in the mid lane as well, as Levi's dead, and you see Carthago in the bot lane. No one is here to defend mid, so it's more plates going the way of Butler, it's kills going the way of Butler, it's farm going the way of Butler. I mean, I guess not top lane, that's looking a little rough, but everywhere else it is. So it's just absolute domination from them. If we look at the gold right now, right, they're up 4,000 at 12 minutes, right? You're up 2,000 gold in just bot lane alone, another 1,000 mid lane, and 1,000 in the jungle, right? You're down a little bit top, but who cares, right? It's just a tank. Malphite's still going to be useful, even if he has a little bit less gold, so... Yeah, it is just absolute dominance.
Very true, and...
This is what we were saying in Champs Select, right? It has to be DePaul aggressively winning the game. Because if they stall it out and they let Butler scale, they will just inevitably lose. And DePaul definitely took that to heart. They have been doing that amazingly. It's a 50 CS lead in the bot lane.
Yeah, and look at that crown, or first item completions coming in for DePaul. They have the crown on Victor, Yomu's onto Reaper in the jungle. You see the Frostfire Gauntlet already completed for Gary, now that it has its new and updated passive. You know, Immortal Shield Bow completed for King Amazing, so all across the board, DePaul is looking strong, while Butler still is waiting on those first items, and a fight here could not be good.
Reaper's down the XP.
Yep, and Kaisik going forward onto Reaper. Reaper's down to 300 HP, so Kaisik's down to 100. Ajastar cleaning it up. Ajastar flashes over the wall. This is a 3-on-4. Butler's collapsing onto the 2 carries of DePaul, but trying to get out with the Realm Warp. But Levi going onto Ajastar, thinking he has a pick on the side. This is a split fight. Jason fighting in the front line. Levi jumped on by Reaper. Ultimate huge coming out from Gary, cleaning up the team fight, and DePaul are running away from it. King Amazing flashing forward, knowing the team fight is won, and this is huge for DePaul. They win the mid-game skirmish. They have the item completions. They're going to get the mid tower, and they're running away with the game.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the play that breaks everything apart for the side of Butler. It's a clean 4-for-0 fight. It's the goal going the way of DePaul. But more importantly, they finally crack open that mid tower, which is going to give them even more gold, and it's going to give them access to the jungle on the side of Butler. Usually that mid tower sort of stands as this bastion against getting invaded. It makes things a lot riskier because it absolutely cuts off one of your major escape routes, which is just leaving through mid lane and running away that way. But once that tower falls, it kind of just opens up everything for DePaul to go and invade. They can contest the jungle vision, they can contest the jungle camps, they can just keep snowballing their lead further and further ahead as there's a little bit of danger on the top side, but it's just a 2v2. I don't think anything major is going to happen.
And we saw the Hex gates are active. It is the Hex Tech Soul that will be spawning. Very, a new map from the preseason. You know, characters are able to teleport around, but IonQ on a huge flank here. Great ultimate from King Amazin'. And DePaul just found the angle. They found Butler in their jungle. Numbers advantage. Huge stun landing from IonQ, and Levi is going to get cleaned up by Reaper right here. Man, DePaul are running this game over before Butler's able to get their feet under them.
I mean, IonQ is just having an absolutely amazing game, right? He played that first bot dive really well. He tanked the perfect amount. He set up the play for success. He immediately ran to the jungle camp to defend the follow-up play from Butler, and now he's the one always feeling like he's in the right place at the right time. He's the one making these picks happen, setting up a lot of these plays with his crowd control, and he is just funneling so much gold into his carries here, right? We haven't seen these big solo plays, solo kills coming out in the laners, right? It's always been IonQ being there to make it happen. As we get just a little bit of positioning around the map. It is just waiting this 15 seconds for the dragon to spawn as DePaul moves all their players down. There's no teleport on Jason. He's walking, but it's going to be slow as IonQ completely safe to face check whatever he wants right now. With his team behind him, no one can actually kill him before his W and his aftershock proc, and that just keeps him alive.
Isaac looking for a steal here, but IonQ has other plans, and that is a alley-oop slam dunk by IonQ and Gary there. They did not want to let Kaisik get out of that one.
17 minutes, 3 dragons, up 10 kills for DePaul. They can't even take Baron because it's not alive yet, even though they have all the resources necessary to actually kill it.
Romo's in a rock and a hard place, trying to get away from Reaper and IonQ here, but he's down to 100 HP. He's bleeding. Levi's to the rescue, trying to help him get away. IonQ still chasing, but Levi helps Mojo Romo escape from that perilous situation.
A little bit of a tiny consolation prize for Mojo Romo to live here as this second Herald is dropped in the mid lane, and if this mid tower falls, it's going to be disaster as it opens some access to the inhibitor. Unfortunately for DePaul though, there's not quite enough force to follow it up, so it's just a big chunk out of the tower as they counter jungle whatever they can on their way out. They need to get their resets. Kaisik really greedy, trying to stop his
has the ultimate back up. Jason and Levi looking on to Agistar. Does not connect on the knockup. Agistar trying to trade back, but this 2v1 is going to prove too much. He flashes away. He is safe. Kaisik caught in the enemy team. King Amazin' with a nice stand aside, and IonQ looking for the kill. Kaisik slowed by the solar flare, trying to get away. Is healing from the Immortal Shield bow, but Reaper and IonQ are too much. Agistar in between Jason and Levi, but he's winning the fight. Misses the Death Laser, and they're still fighting up here as Agistar is trying to reconnect with his team, and Levi and Jason are routed.
And somehow, yeah, and
Reaper finding him.
Actually able to make it out alive.
He's under the tower. Levi's looking. And,
Being amazing.
From downtown.
Yeah, good little snipe, getting that cash in. And finally, the resets are going to come through for the side of DePaul. They're going to spend their money once again and then get back out on the map. A full BF sword, bought for King Amazin'. He is just so rich, sitting on 2.5 items. Same for Agistar in the mid lane as well. And it is sort of just a matter of time. The wave clear from the side of Butler is too good to just raw end the game by shoving in waves. So we're just going to wait, you know, for this Baron to spawn, for this Hex Tech Soul to spawn. And then once you get these big buffs coming through, DePaul's going to be able to end the game by force.
I mean, just look at the item differences here, right? A
Absolutely.
full
Cosmic
Drive completed on Agistar. That is huge. There's still no Mythic on Kaisik. He's sitting over here with a Dirk. a Vamp Scepter, a Crit Cloak, and a Noon Quiver.
Yeah,
Like,
he is 1-7. He has not been having a good time. He does have
trying his items
129
at a
CS
garage
now.
sale,
That
man.
is,
This is
he's
a
keeping
tough
up.
look.
Yeah, everyone on the side of Butler is not having an amazing time right now. It was close for a very long time, but it really just exploded on that one play around DePaul's red buff, where everything went wrong for Butler. So many people live on DePaul with 1 HP. They kept re-engaging, getting one more kill here, one more kill there, then they took the mid tower. And from there, it was just DePaul winning with their wallets, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, DePaul's been playing this game very, very well, and IonQ finding another engage, and man, he is having an amazing game. Look at this, King Amazing, kiting straight into Kaisik, not afraid of anything. Oh man, DePaul is running away with this one. Looks like they're going to turn right onto the Baron, and
Yeah, they
that'll
get bot
aid them
tower.
in their quest to destroy the inhibitors.
Yeah, they get the kills, they get the bot tower, they're gonna get the Baron, and then it really is just a formality. They're gonna take their Baron, they're gonna reset, they're gonna get Hextech Soul, and then in all likelihood they're just gonna march it down mid lane. There really just is no way that DePaul can lose a team fight right now. It's 21 minutes, and they are up 14,000 gold over their opponents. They're up basically a full item on 4 out of 5 of the champions on their team at this point. Actually, no, yeah, they're up just like a full items worth of gold on every single champion on the entire team. It is so impossible to lose a team fight at this point that it is just a matter of waiting for the ball.
Yeah. Oh. Butler were lining up there, and Kaisik stepping a little too far forward. Reaper just gets him on the solo. Adstar and Gary zoning off the team of Butler. There's no way they're going to be able to get onto the soul. If they do, Gary and IonQ are waiting for their opportunity to strike, and there's just no way into this game. So
Yeah.
I got to ask you, what does Butler do moving into game 2? What do they got to, what's got to change?
Less greedy, man. Why'd you blind pick him there? Like,
Ultimate coming out on to Levi a little too far forward, and Gary snipes it. He sees the engage, and that is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. There is a 5v3 on the map. 2 inhibs almost certainly going down, and let's see if they're going to be able to end this one.
but yeah, I think the main problem for Butler is their draft is so greedy, right? They take a Vayne, not knowing what the enemy team's AD carry is, so King Amazing can just go with a Draven to hard exploit it, right? They pick a Rise, who's just another hard scaling, no early game champion, and then they get rolled over in the early game, right? So you just need to pick champions that can contest early pressure, because I liked the plays Butler was making. They had good map rotations. They were making good moves. They were looking for picks. They just didn't have the damage early enough in the game to actually make it happen for themselves. So they just lost fights that looked good for them at the start.
Yeah, and I'd have to agree. Something about the team having too many conditional statements, right? This champion is good if, like the Graves, if he gets ahead, if he snowballs, if he's able to get a lead, if he gets a couple successful ganks off, right? If Ornn's able to scale to ornaments, if Rise is able to get past the one item spike of Victor, right? You had all these ifs, but no guaranteed game plan to get yourself ahead in the game. It all relied on them outplaying and creating something out of thin air where there's no concrete path, I think, to win that game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if we go into the next game and Butler makes a big adaptation, if we see something like uh I don't know, if we see something like a Jhin being picked in the bot lane, if we see something like even a Talon for Butler in the jungle, something aggressive in the mid lane, maybe an assassin, right? They're really strong right now. Even with Crown being so popular. I really feel like Butler had the right ideas. They made the right plays, And the only problem was that their champions just weren't properly equipped to contest DePaul's champions early in the game. So they took fights that should have been even, but were actually losing.
And you have to give credit to DePaul. They had the foot on the gas from minute one. Reaper coming down with a really smart gank at level 3, shutting down Carthago, Ion Q, Reaper, and King Amazing playing that really, really well. And then just the follow-up, right? They were on point with all of their abilities the whole game. They never let the foot off the gas. King Amazing was always moving forward on the Draven. Ion Q was finding pick after pick after pick after pick. And yeah, Gary was down 50 CS, but did you see those ultimates? Butler was getting knocked up left and right by those unstoppable forces, and the whole thing came together under Agistar and Reaper's mid jungle synergy. Right, they were constantly winning the 2v2 against Kaisik and Levi. Right, that red side jungle play. I think Reaper and Agistar just worked so well together, getting consistent damage and always disengaging when they were getting low, when their cooldowns were not up, and it just ended up being an overwhelming victory for the side of DePaul.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to have to see in just a few moments if Butler can make the adaptations they need to run it back in game 2 and go to a game 3 in the set, or if DePaul can repeat that dominant victory and just close things out with a clean 2-0. We'll be back in just a few moments after a short break while we get everything set up.
There's a distance between us. It's getting hard to reach out. Haven't seen you in seasons, but all I hear is your voice. I know my limits, you can break me down, but I'll stay till the finish line. And I've been counting minutes for quite some time now, just to see you again. And I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting ways to get away, to see you again. got millions of reasons to let it all go. Hope we're not too broken. I know I'm not always strong, and I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting ways to get away, to see you again.
Hello and welcome back. We just got finished with game 1 of Butler versus DePaul in the Big East. And safe to say that was an overwhelming victory from DePaul. Can you break it down for me?
Yeah, so even from level 3, we saw DePaul really ramping up the aggression. We saw an early dive bot lane, rotating the talent out of the jungle into the dive as well. It resulted in a double kill going through, and it really set Butler's Vayne behind for basically the entire game. And then from there, tempo really was in DePaul's favor, and they never let off the gas. They just kept making these aggressive plays, rotating them around the map, finding picks for themselves, and we saw Butler putting up a fight back against it. They made plays of their own, but DePaul's comp was just so much better in the early game that they were able to just run away with their lead and completely stomp the game after.
Yeah, and we can see it looks like the draft is working out in a pretty similar way. Same bans for both teams. Ziggs, Zillion, Kog'Maw all taken off the table from the side of DePaul. Butler targeting that jinx of King Amazing once again, now that they're on red side. Tryndamere as well taken off the table. I have to assume that would be a targeted ban towards Agistar, potentially,
Yeah,
in the middle
Tryndamere is
lane.
absolutely very strong right now as well. Lethal Tempo works amazingly well on him, and we already saw Tryndamere rising into competitive play at the end of last season with Tryndamere mid seeing some play. So a very solid ban, and if somebody on the side of DePaul plays it really proficiently, it's a terrifying pick.
Lee Sin taken away from Reaper, one of his legacy longtime best champions, and we see it again. Blue won Graves. You have to wonder where that's going to go, but
Yeah, it's time for DePaul instead of Butler. So both these teams putting a lot of priority on this champion.
yeah, and that's another one that Reaper is very proficient on. Could also be flexed mid or top. Just an overall very safe first pick. And what DePaul did not think about was leaving open the Yuumi, Mojo Romo's best champion. This is a champion he has used to climb to very high elos. I think it was like 600, 650 LP in Grandmaster. He's spamming Yuumi, and he's one of the best in the server at it, right? So pairing
Yuumi
that with
All right,
a
Butler
Hecarim,
coming out swinging here, pulling
I
out
like it.
Yuumi Hecarim. Yeah, it's a really strong combo, especially Hecarim recently being buff. Uh don't but why are we picking Vayne Lulu into a Yuumi? You need to okay.
You have to
Um
you have to remember this is King Amazing Vayne,
it
right?
is King of Vayne. True. Okay, so the idea from DePaul is that they are going to outscale the Yuumi, right? It kind of goes both ways. Normally, when you're against a Yuumi, you want to pick something very aggressive so you can beat it early on before it hits this critical mass of just turning everyone into unkillable monsters. You need to camp the Yuumi. You need to make pressure around her while she's weak in the early game. On the flip side, you can just draft such incredible scaling in the bot lane that you can actually contest it. And that is something Vayne Lulu can absolutely do, right? Vayne Lulu can contest the Yuumi in terms of scaling, and unlike last game where we saw Leona early followed by a Draven to punish the very greedy Vayne Lulu bot lane, the enemy's already committed to having a Yuumi, so we're not going to be able to see that come out. And the Vayne is going to be able to free scale just as hard as the Yuumi is. Kate Ban comes through, which I think is good, a very classic counter to Vayne. She just can't match your range, she can't match your wave clear. You just get permanently shoved onto your tower and it becomes very unplayable.
Yeah,
So I like the bans coming out here.
I like the Victor pickup from Butler as well. We
Mhm.
saw how powerful the champion was last game in the mid lane, having that omnipotent wave clear and just their, I guess, versatility inside of the kit. And, he's very, very strong right now. So Levi taking his hands on that one, getting a likely winning mid matchup. And Ezreal's locked in with the Yuumi. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, so I was about to say the exact opposite of picking Ezreal. Butler's team comp right now is very greedy. Victor is a late game champion, but he provides a lot of insurance, right? If your Hecarim falls behind and Yuumi Hecarim, your main plan doesn't work out, Victor is also an absolutely amazing person for Yuumi to sit on. But that being said, you have a hard scaling Yuumi, a hard scaling Victor, and Hecarim doesn't really bring a lot of early pressure. You typically want to full clear your jungle once or twice before Hecarim really comes online and is this mid-game powerhouse. So I was going to say, I want to see more early game picked up from the side of Butler. I want to see something pretty Chad in the bot lane, maybe something like a Jhin who can really pump out some early damage, who also synergizes well with Yuumi anyway. Ezreal is a lot more of a passive that just stays incredibly safe and plays to scale alongside the Yuumi, right? It's very hard to actually pick off Yuumi Ezreal between Flash and a Blink and the Yuumi healing and the double defensive summoners and heal and exhaust being run. Camille, on the other hand, does sort of lean into this early power. Camille can aggressively trade into Ornn with that true damage that she provides, but I would have loved to also see a more aggressive early game AD carry with how late game indexed the rest of your team.
Yeah, I really like the idea you put out there of the Jhin, right? Giving some more of that utility over the team because right now Butler is considerably lacking in utility, right? They have a lot of, champions that can go 1v9. Hecarim, Victor, Camille, Ezreal paired with Yuumi, all of them can have these great moments. But it's really difficult if you don't have that setup, right? That consistency in your execution, those champions that make the skill shots easier to land, that make the combos easier to hit. So, definitely a another greedy draft, but
Mhm.
I can see the logic behind it. Now, Lux being used as the answer to this Victor and this very, moving forward, aggressive draft from Butler. We've seen this pick pop up in solo queue a little bit. It has, pretty powerful stats after the buffs. What do you think? Do you think this is a competitive staple, or do you think this is more of um, a solo queue pick?
I think Lux shines a lot more as a support than a mid laner currently, but that being said, I do think Lux can definitely work in the mid lane here in this specific game. Mostly because she's sort of this hybrid between a siege mage, like I was saying, I really think is undervalued, and an enchanter, right? And somebody you can peel for your team. When you pick a Xerath, you get exposed to Hecarim and Camille just diving on top of you and killing you. So you can't pick that kind of a thing here. What Lux does is she's sort of this really nice middle ground where you have this E and this R that can play for incredible range advantages that Victor and Ezreal can't really contest, but you also get this shield to help keep your Vayne and your Graves alive. You get a double root, you get slows, right? You have a lot of utility inside of this Lux's kit that synergizes really well with your Vayne and your Graves who are going to be trying to hypercarry, while also providing enough ranged magic damage to be a threat, preventing the enemy team from heavily indexing into armor and kind of invalidating your Vayne and your.
Absolutely, and it seems like we got a almost inverse of the drafts we saw last game, right? A lot of the elements that were popular or that were in the Butler draft, this conservative play style, the scaling, the Vayne, the Lulu, the Ornn, the Graves, all picked up on blue side from DePaul, while this more aggressive playmaking capability is coming out from Butler. We have the Hecarim, we have the Camille, we have the Victor, and then this Yuumi to go on top of it to try to get over that hump and really take over the game in the middle section. So it should be a very, very exciting
Yeah, in fact,
game that
there's only one champion difference, right? DePaul literally just drafted Butler's comp from the previous game with one champion swapped out, right? So I'm interested to see how this goes. I think the main difference is that on the side of DePaul, they don't have these champions that run over the early game. They don't have Leona, Draven, Talon, right? They have
Mhm.
Hecarim, Ezreal, Yuumi, who are going to be playing to match the scaling from the side of DePaul. So what I think going into this game, the major thing to look out for is going to be King Amazen and INQ in the bot lane on this Vayne Lulu combo. Because I think all of the late game is going to come down to whether or not Camille, Hecarim, Yuumi can kill Vayne. Because if Camille can get an R on Vayne, and then Hecarim R's on top of it, Yuumi R's on top of it, it gets incredibly hard for Vayne to play these team fights really quickly, right? But if the Yuumi R doesn't root King Amazen, if he positions properly, if he stays safe, and the crowd control gets blown on the rest of his team but not him, he can press R. He can stack lethal tempo on the Hecarim. He can stack tempo on the Camille, and then he can absolutely 1v5 these fights. So my eyes are absolutely going to be on King Amazen. It's going to really come down to whether or not his tanks and his supports are able to keep him safe and protected, or if he's just going to get popped by Camille and Hecarim and Yuumi.
So fun little tidbit here.
Mhm.
Butler has actually swapped up the positions. Is it, Levi has moved himself into the jungle. He is playing the Hecarim.
Oh,
Kaisik from jungle is moving to top lane, and their top laner from last game, Jay Shin, is playing the Victor mid.
that
Is
is
this
interesting,
an
yeah.
ego check, or you think there's some?
I don't think I've ever. I think Levi is normally the jungler for Butler, right? He's
No,
red
he's
usually,
the mid
is he?
laner.
Oh,
He sometimes swaps to top lane.
he's
They swap lanes there, but he's playing jungle this
oh,
game.
yeah, that's interesting.
You
Not
know?
quite sure what's going on there, but I mean, if it's tech, right? If Jay Shin just is this Victor player, I can
True.
absolutely see it working out. I mean, Jay Shin is the top laner normally, right? So he probably has a lot of experience on this Victor pick, right? Historically, Victor has seen a decent amount of play as a very strong top laner, so I would not be surprised if Jay Shin is very proficient on this champion. And yeah,
Yeah,
we'll have to see what happens. I'm
and
excited for
I
it.
I think it'll also be fun. Levi is definitely the main voice for the Butler squad. Does a lot of shot calling, and I could say the same
Mhm.
about Reaper on DePaul. Both of these players squaring off against each other in the same role this game. Normally, they're at odds end, right? Mid versus jungle, you have a little bit of a break there, but this is going to be direct competition from the two brains and shot callers behind the Butler and DePaul squad. So it should be a very fun and a fun little storyline to watch while we're going through this game.
Yeah, let's see what happens. First strike on Camille into
Three
Ornn.
champions.
First strike on Ezreal, first strike on Victor. Do I like first strike on Ezreal? Yes. Yeah, I like first strike on Ezreal. Okay, I had to think about it for a second. I think first strike on Ezreal is good. First Strike, very notably, is not Kleptomancy. I see that comparison all the time. And it's just kind of not true. Kleptomancy was this early mid-game rune that gave you accelerated early gold income. First Strike is absolutely a late game rune. In the first 10 minutes of a game, First Strike is going to give you like 80 gold. But once you hit one item, two items, right? First Strike starts giving you, like, oh, you hit an Ezreal on 3 people? Oh, here's 150 gold. Here's half a kill's worth of gold. It starts adding up really fast once you have completed items, but it isn't this item or this rune that accelerates your early game into a faster mid game. What it does is it accelerates your mid game into a faster late game, which is a very big difference compared to old Kleptomancy. That's a misconception I see a lot. So whenever I see somebody take First Strike on a champion that used to run Kleptomancy, you always have to pause and think about it for a second. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel you. Maybe not. Maybe the Vladimirs of the world shouldn't be taking Klepto this time. Or I mean, First Strike
Klepto,
this time.
Yeah, First Strike, maybe not the Vladimir rune.
So one thing I noticed is Kaistik opted into Ignite in the top lane matchup against Gary, which I don't know if I'm a favor of. I've been a Camille player for some time, and in this matchup, it's a war of attrition more than it is a bursty all-in sort of matchup, and I don't think the extra 100 damage is going to, swing that matchup as much as a opportunity to escape from an aggressive gank or a unexpected all-in.
Yeah, absolutely. We usually see this TP Ignite setup come when it's these aggressive matchups, Camille into Bruisers. We see it when she wants to beat a Jax or an Irelia in lane.
Oh.
But when we're in tanks, we usually do just see sort of the grasp setup as this invade. Carthago was spotted by the sweeper.
They didn't
even
spot.
see them.
They didn't.
I don't think Butler saw DePaul go for this invade. There's no pings anywhere on the map. I think this is just a clean late invade. And I think Levi is going to be very annoyed when he sees his entire blue side missing. He's even pathing to his Krugs. I don't even think it's... I think it's just going to be a clean...
Devastating.
It's going to be a clean 3-camp. Levi's going to miss his entire bot side jungle.
That is a really, really heads-up play from the DePaul team. That is something you think about before the game. That is clear communication and a good game plan going into it. And, Reaper has got his number. If Levi does not, go for the diagonal or the split map play, it's going to be devastating.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. I'm pretty sure Butler has no idea that this happened. And looking at the bot lane, by the way, one thing I want to point out.
And Reaper's going to get a gank off.
Ooh,
they have to know now.
They have to know now,
with the blue buff. But Reaper is looking for damage onto Carthago, and flash forward by INQ. Carthago ignited it up, and a lot of summoners blown for the Lulu, and a huge health bar advantage for King Amazing in the bot lane.
Yeah, we see Levi suss out what's going on. He goes toward the blue side of DePaul, and what I wanted to talk about is actually immediately paying off, right? We have a Doran's Blade on Carthago as opposed to a longsword and a refillable potion for King Amazing, and in high elo, it has very much been the trend recently. King Amazing's taking a lot of damage.
King Amazing, 100 HP, heal comes out. First blood over to Carthago. Now it's just Mojo Romo and INQ duking it out.
Oh my god, yeah, so...
Oh, Levi looking for a dive top lane, but Gary is high health. He's down to 200. Levi down to 150. Aggressive dive attempt. Gets the flash out of Gary.
Yeah, King Amazing. Starting longsword. It's been standard in high elo for a while now for 80 carries to go longsword refillable or longsword 3 potions. Carthago opted not to do that, instead going for the Doran's Blade, which gives you a little bit extra health in a complete all-in scenario, but it gives you far less health in sort of an extended pokey lane. We actually saw that immediately.
Teleport coming in for Kaisik in the top lane.
Nothing really gonna happen though. Kaizik gonna look for the play, but I think DePaul is just a little bit too safe. He's gonna walk up to the Wolves though, but nothing is going to come of it.
Yep, and Mojoromo making his way back to the bot lane, roamed up there for a potential play. Right now, it is just Carthago and King Amazing. Look at that, 2-level lead from Carthago. That early trade benefiting the Ezreal much more than the Vayne here.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to remember, it is a big wave getting caught by the bot side of DePaul here. It's probably not a full level's worth of experience. The early EXP is definitely in favor of Butler, but it's not as bad as it looks. It's probably about, half a level down. And the EXP is sort of traded back the other way. It is INQ with an EXP advantage over Mojoromo, so total EXP in the lane is probably about equal, but you definitely care more about AD carry experience than support experience, for sure.
Certainly, and a lot of professional games with more roaming support. You can see those, Nautiluses and Leonas being level 4 or 5, while their carries are level, 7 or 8 times. And here, another smart path from Reaper. He is right on top of Carthago. Carthago trying to run away. Ignite gets dropped on him. He's down to 100 HP. King Amazing, tumble flash, auto attack, takes him down. Mojoromo trying to find anyone on his team to attach to and get out. But Kaizik and Gary are fighting the top lane. Interrupted. Levi going onto IonQ, but he's in the middle of 3 right now. Teleport coming down. Levi a little too far forward. Didn't have any help from his team, and it looks like Butler is just routed and trying to get out of this disastrous play in the bot side river.
Yeah, and disastrous is absolutely the correct word for it. There isn't a better one, right? It's 2 kills going the way of Butler and the Dragon, as Jason is level 6 here, looking to this contest. Carthago's coming in as well, only level 4 on Reaper.
Drops the ultimate, gets good damage down. Jason out of mana, but Mojoromo and Carthago looking for the fight. King Amazing and IonQ both really low. Stepping forward, Jason's trying to make it happen. Levi is here, level 4, and they're getting the Dragon. A nice little turnaround coming from Jason with the level 6.
Yeah, really great awareness from the side of Butler, knowing that DePaul is not going to have the health bars required to actually kill that Dragon. And now it's actually Butler with a little bit of a gold lead. They get the Dragon, and they are smashing on EXP, especially in this bot lane. Look, Carthago already up 5 CS, and he still has his wave to catch. He's in a little bit of danger here, but he's going to be able to walk it out just barely. As King Amazing takes the Q in the auto, he falls. IonQ going to go down as well, and it's a complete disaster on the bottom side of the map. The kill lead goes in favor of Butler. Their gold lead is 1,500 in their favor, and that's before Carthago catches the double stacked wave that was crashing into his tower. And
yeah, that was absolutely huge. King Amazing seeing red going forward, looking for Carthago, and just a nice Q snipe through the wave from Carthago, a cheeky auto attack from Mojoromo, and they clean it up, and Butler's bot lane is decisively winning this scaling lane.
Yeah, I said that my eyes were going to be on the Vayne during Champ Select, and it was looking really good for a while, but now he is disastrously behind. This Kaizik getting dove, really not much he can do to outplay this, so he's going to try his best. Stall a little bit longer, but he has
waiting
nowhere
for
to
Jason,
run.
but
yeah,
an auto attack takes him down. Looks like Jason is roaming up to the top lane. Curious to see if he will go for a play here. He has the ultimate available soon, has the flash available, and Reaper's recall is interrupted. We see Mojoromo and Levi on the way up here. Jason calls in the ultimate, taking down Gary. He's down to 100 HP. Flashes away, no spells available, so it's just Reaper left alone in the enemy jungle. He knows he's dead. He's gonna get taken down. Levi cleans it up. Happy kitten from Mojoromo, and things are going right for Butler. They're getting kills across the map. They're winning objectives, and they might be able to transition this play into a Rift Herald.
Yeah, Butler is once again just creating so much early pressure in this game. We saw it from DePaul in the last game, right? It's just whoever is the team with these earlier game champions is the team that needs to make the earlier game plays, right? So it's not too surprising What I am worried about, though, is...
Look at Kaisik, and Ion Q is super low. King Amazing not 6. He's taking up
Just
tower.
two
That's 2
tower
shots.
shots.
Ultimate's already out. Kaisik going in. King Amazing has no disengage left. Will he be able to clean up Carthago? No, Mojo Romo's on his way in. King Amazing's taken down by Carthago. Ion Q is left. No ultimate available for Kaisik, but that's another shutdown onto the Vayne, and this pick has just
an
fallen
absolute
flat.
blunder from King Amazing. He takes 2 tower shots completely unnecessarily. Doesn't kill Carthago, even though it was incredibly close. Well played by him for it to even be that close in the first place, but you have to look at this game and you have to just chill if you're King Amazing, right? You know, if this game goes to 30 minutes, you just win.
Kaisik finding Agistar. Agistar flashing away, but still inside of Butler's jungle. Levi has him. Jason, Romo takes that one, and well,
Yeah.
Butler's cleaning house. This is looking good.
Yeah, they're cleaning house. Now they have the Herald, so they're going to be able to immediately shove in mid and probably drop it here. Get 2 or 3 plates worth of gold, extend their lead even further. After this Herald crash, it's probably going to be closer to 2,000. And yeah, they have really great scaling to contest the side of DePaul, right? Your gold is on your Hecarim and it's on your Yumi, which is the exact combo you
King
need
Amazing?
to scale this game.
Hello?
King Amazing!
He's trying to skill check, but Carthago just has more items.
Yeah.
He just has more items.
What? I mean, it was close. King Amazing dodged like 2 of the Qs, but you're down a full level. You're down, I don't know, probably 100, a few on. Yeah, you're down 1,000 gold. It's just like, what's your plan? You know?
I don't know. He just
I get like it was close, but like that fight literally started with him eating a full WQ, and he still decided he wanted to go in for it.
in an enemy minion wave too. He was just feeling it.
Interesting. I mean,
Definitely Carthago will take that one. You know,
Yeah.
it sets up the bot lane, but Mojo Romo here trying to retreat, hold the wave for his AD carry, and Reaper potentially looking for a play down here, but looks like Butler has the numbers with Jason and Jason having first move. Kaisik's down here as well. This is a 5-man play on the bot side.
He's playing really well though. This could be quite bad for Butler, but it's just too
like
many
they're just
people.
disengaging numbers
people
advantage too much.
Yeah, the rotations come in before anything from the side of DePaul comes. The TP advantage in the top lane paying off dividends as well as King and Mason has the mechanics on the Vayne. If you look at how he's playing these fights, he's playing them well, but the decisions aren't there. He took too many fights that weren't good early. He took too many bad trades, and now, even though he is making the outplays happen, he dodged every ability from the side of Butler there. The damage just isn't there. He doesn't have the attack speed to get off enough Silver Bolts procs, and so he can't quite make it happen.
Maybe this is the difference between, you know, competitive Vayne and solo queue Vayne, right? In solo queue, maybe there isn't enough coordination, or maybe you can get away with these all-ins when you hit 6, but in a competitive setting, you know, each or every player is, you know, practiced in these matchups and knows, you know, the breakpoints, and they're really aiming for this Vayne, trying to shut it down, where maybe in solo queue you don't have that coordination.
I mean, I actually think this is an amazing matchup for Vayne. I think that if there was a Vayne game, it's this one. I just think King Amazing got way too antsy in the early game. I don't actually think the champion is the problem here. I think the problem is that King Amazing just like tried to make plays when he was at his absolute weakest as a champion. And so he lost by small margins and then just fell behind because of it.
Ooh, I really like what Butler is doing here, where they have been roaming Kaisik and Jason around in the solo lanes as this like malleable unit, right? Camille and Victor, they can theoretically, you know, you can send Camille mid, you can send Victor top. It doesn't feel like they have a dedicated mid and top. They're just kind of working with whatever matchup favors them and who has cooldowns. I think that's a really, really smart way to, you know, roam your team around the map.
Yeah, meanwhile, Carthago was having a lot of trouble actually holding the bot tower. We see Reaper coming around, probably going to look for an invader or a dive, as this tower
Carthago
is
lining up against the wall. King Amazing gets the
wall,
stun. He's onto the tower taking shots. Ion Q now getting really low. Lands another Q, but King Amazing looking for the outplay. Takes the tower shot. King Amazing down to 200 HP. 1 Q would be enough, but he gets the shutdown. Now Reaper's under tower. The tower hasn't fallen, but DePaul is decisively winning this fight. Kaisik is polymorph, trying to run away. Ignite down. Oh, Levi and Mojo Romo on the way in, taking down King Amazing. IonQ's exhausted. This is definitely a... Oh, he manages to live. Levi down to 150 HP. The Yumi is here, though, healing it up, giving him shield. IonQ walking away with just a sliver. Levi sees him, trying to take him down, gets it. Triple kill to Levi, and you know, it looked so good for DePaul at the beginning, but I think they just stayed a little too long, and you know that Yumi was really able to decide the fight with all those heals and shields that came in.
Yeah, I mean that fight is kind of what I was talking about, though, right? Like King Amazing is good little solo kill from
okay.
With the flash. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about, right? King Amazing really good on this Fade pick. His mechanics are there. The champion is strong in this game. Like, he's down so much gold, and he was still able to put in so much value in that fight. He just set himself way too far behind early, and Levi got the best of it as well. He got all the gold off of these early plays. Mojo Romo buffing up with this Moonstone as well means he's just an absolute immortal, capable of running down the entire DePaul lineup.
Yeah, he is very, very fed on this Hecarim. 5-1-1, level 10. You know, he is leading this game as he is not afraid to charge into Reaper, charge into the jungle, and King Amazing fighting Kaisik, and Kaisik is getting the best of him here, and they're just picking on King Amazing. 6 deaths at 15 minutes, a very uncharacteristic game from the AD carry of DePaul.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, I mean, he's not even like down gold to Isaac. He's just down, what, 3 levels worth of experience, right? I mean, that's about 1,200 gold in and of itself, so that 1v1 is a little bit skewed one way, unfortunately, for King Amazing. He went for the outplay, he wasn't able to get it, as he is just egoing so hard this game, taking so many plays he has no right doing.
Yeah, and you know, if we take a look at item completions, we can see 3 Divine Sunderers already completed for the side of Butler. The crown completed for the victor. Yumi's got the Moonstone. No, it is.
Carthago opts to go for a Divine Sunderer this game instead of the Trinity Force build that we've seen. Typically, we see Divine Sunder on Ezreal into tankier teams. Stuff that's much more bruisery. I guess the Graves does have a lot of armor, and he's going to get a little bit of extra max health, but I definitely would have loved to see a Trinity Force just stack up those Qs that give you extra base AD, and just get these really big Trinity Force procs. But you know what? Divine Sunder is not like the worst thing ever. It gives you healing, it gives you pen, it does give you a lot of things. It's just, I don't know. I want to see Trinity Force, man.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
It needs some love.
Right now, Butler is taking their 3rd dragon of the game with an Ocean Soul available in just 5 minutes. Baron spawning in 2.5. Butler has plenty of objectives to go for on this map, and Outer still standing. You know, there's nothing but opportunity for Butler. The question is, are they going to be able to keep it consistent and close it out? Because the gold lead is only around 3,000, despite there being an 8-kill lead and so much pressure on the side of Butler.
Yeah, I mean, you have to aggressively end this game if you're Butler, right? King Amazing is scaling. Once he finishes this Phantom Dancer and gets, you know, halfway toward a Wit's End or not a Phantom Dancer. Once he finishes this Rage Flame, gets halfway toward like a Phantom Dancer or Wit's End.
Aggressively, they're going for it. Levi is diving the mid lane, and oh my goodness, Kaisik and Levi team up and move forward right under the enemy tower, and King Amazing and IonQ fall instantly. They just cannot handle the burst of Butler right now, and that is a Rift Herald 1 over.
Hecarim Yumi is just too strong of a combo. King Amazing just dies 100-0 during crowd control there, and it's not like he was even bursted that fast. The crowd control just lasted that long. And yeah, I was saying, right, Butler needs to end the game aggressively, and that's exactly what they're doing right now. They get the Rift Herald, they're pushing in this mid tower, they're going to get it without the Herald, because that can be dropped to get maybe the 2nd mid tower. It can get pressure as the dragon is spawning, and then that dragon spawn is going to be sold as well, as Kaisik is in a little bit of danger here. Avstar needs to get like 1 ability.
Avstar is looking really good in this fight, gets the slow Arcane Comet, Q comes in and shut down. 450 gold over the Lux. That's got to feel good after a very slow and unexciting early game for Agistar.
Yeah, absolutely. 450 gold. Definitely going to feel very, very nice. But you have to wonder, you know, is it going to be too little too late? King Amazing sees Levi walk up
Levi's
to him
looking
and
again, but Gary's here
shoots
on the...
He's so aggressive.
He's just he's flexing on him, you know. He's 6-1 on this Hecarim. He has a Yumi on him. He's ready.
King Amazing. King Amazing saw Levi just walking at him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna auto him twice. What's the worst that could happen? Like, dude, there's pretty bad things that could happen. Chill, like, walk away."
Fair enough. One thing I'd like to commend Reaper on this game is he was down quite a bit of farm early to Levi, but he has caught up and he has stayed even in EXP, even though Levi has found many successful plays in the early game that have set him up for success, where you know Reaper has sort of been playing catch up and you know trying to protect his lanes. He does have still very solid EXP and gold numbers.
Yeah. We'll have to see if that ends up mattering, as it's really hard to play Graves in this game here. Graves and the Yumi, it's just really hard because she's going to be buffing up whatever target you're going to want to hit, and then the Yumi R, there's no way to kite around that as Graves. You're always getting rooted by this Yumi R, and once you get rooted as Graves, you can't play that like pseudo melee, pseudo range kiting style where you're stacking up crit and you're getting these big lifesteal hits in that you want to be playing for. So it gets really hard really fast. And with Dragon spawning in 1 minute 30, there's not a lot of room for DePaul to keep scaling up to get ready to prepare for this Dragon, right? The next fight is
on King
coming.
Amazing here. He's got Guinzo's completed and he's level 10. I don't know if he's going to hit level 11 before the fight, but he's got the 2-item spike, and you know I've said this for a long time, but 2-item Vayne is full build. You know she's got it. She's online. Carthago also online, right? He has the Muramana transformed. He's got the Divine Sunderer, so both of these AD carries are going to be extremely potent in this fight. And since this is going to be Ocean Soul, I can only imagine Paul will want to contest.
Yeah, Ocean Soul is it's a top soul. It's not one of the bad ones. Infernal, Wind, and those are the two bad ones. The other ones are all pretty fun. Infernal feels pretty bad. The stats disagree.
Yeah, I think with the addition of the Hextech Soul and the Chem Strength Soul, they really just up the game of what a soul can do for a team.
Absolutely.
And Carthago in the middle.
You actually see, DePaul has positioning on the Dragon as it's about to spawn, but it looks like they're going to get routed as they're all taking way too much damage from this Ezreal thing. Just adding all passes.
Levi going for the fence line immediately. Kaita finding Agistar. Agistar taking down real low. But King Amazing's kiting. King Amazing's taking him down. King Amazing got Levi, but Romo is healing him up. Carthago was free hitting that entire fight, and Butler just runs over DePaul.
Yeah, I mean, King Amazing played it as well as he could, right? He stayed completely safe on the engage. He shredded down Levi on this Hecarim, but I mean, the stats just aren't there, right? The gold is way too in favor of Butler. A little bit of an over-ambitious engage doesn't end up biting them because they're just way too ahead. It's going to be the soul falling. It's going to be everything falling mid lane as well as the Herald is still alive.
I like that gauge. Sometimes you just got to pull the trigger. And that's something that this Butler team has no fear of doing. Right, there are some teams you watch them bleed out if they're behind. That's not Butler. Some teams you see them, they can't close. You know, they found the engage, they made it happen. They got the soul, they got the inhibitor. So what? They traded Levi. I think that was a pretty solid engage from them, and you know they were rewarded handedly.
Well, I mean, I think if like everything was even, that wouldn't be the engage you're really looking for. I think Levi went in too far ahead, but given the current state of the game, right, where you just need to start a fight, it doesn't really matter how. I think it's a completely fine engage for sure.
We can see.
My point is that like it did give sort of DePaul this chance for King Amazing to make the outplay, and he kind of did, but they were just too far behind. There's now Baron is going to be what Butler sets their eyes on here.
Yep, and vision control currently in favor of DePaul. They've got the river warded up. I'm sure that will not last long as Butler is cleaning out these wards, and it's only a matter of time before they get the setup around the objective, and either take it or set up some death brushes. So a very, very precarious situation for DePaul to try to approach.
I mean, this little scuttling makes it a little awkward for them to try and just raw take the Baron, because, you know, well, the enemy knows you're doing it, but, I mean, there's just absolutely no way to fall
here. Reaper is trapped in the Hextech ultimatum. He's going down. Now it's Levi in the back line trying to get some damage done. Romo taken down low. Ooh, nice ultimate from Agistar. And DePaul are actually doing pretty well this fight, but the Yumi heals are going to come in. The Ocean Dragon is going to come in, and Butler is going to heal up with Reaper down. That could be another start onto the Baron.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really well played fight from DePaul. They're playing as best as they can, but there's only so much they can do here.
No cooldown here for DePaul. Butler has a lot of health, and they're moving forward, and they're running over the fight. King Amazing down, Gary's down, Ion Q, he's about to fall. Carthago finds him, Kaisik finds Agistar, and that is a clean ace from Butler. It looks like they're going to try to end the game through mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, when it's 5 versus 1, you don't even need the Baron, and you can just run in through mid, get your super minions with you, and just end it.
Just like that, Reaper's about to fall, and for the first time since spring of 2019, Butler has beaten DePaul. DePaul is mortal. That was the first game they have won since spring of 2019. It was a 1-1 draw. So Butler taking it to game 3, and they look like a completely different team from game 1.
Yeah, absolutely. That game was just very dominant by the side of Butler, or yeah, by Butler. And going into game 3, the question on my mind is a team gonna pick Vayne early? That's what I want to know. Because it has looked really bad both times we've seen it. And that game, I actually don't think it was the Vayne's fault. I think the Vayne actually looked very good game. But I think
not the pick.
I think King Amazing played the pick very poorly. But I think that the Vayne pick itself was completely fine there. And we're going to have to see if we can really make somebody make it work. Because all of the stats tell us Vayne should be running over games. We just don't see it happening.
Yeah, it's a curious situation, you know. But on the side of Butler, they found success with Levi in the jungle. Now, are they going to keep their lineup consistent? I would hope so, moving into game 3. And maybe, you know, was it you know, Jason being good at Victor, or is Jason good at mid lane too, right? I just have a lot of questions for why that was such a strong performance from Butler. And, you know, I'm very curious to see how it will play out with a potentially different draft. Maybe, you know, DePaul adapts in their pick and ban phase. I think you have to take a look at that, right?
I think Yumi's getting banned for sure. Dude, okay. I think Yumi is this pick where everyone kind of knows it's there. And everyone kind of has this silent agreement, like, yeah, we're not trying to win that hard, you know what I'm saying? And then the enemy team is like, oh, we're playing Yumi. And then you go, oh, we're playing Yumi now. I see how it is. And then you gotta start, you know, caring about it. You gotta start pressuring it yourself. You gotta start banning it, right? It feels like this very, like, disrespectful pick where everyone kind of had this gentleman's agreement to not pick Yumi until, like, everything's on the line. And then once one guy picks Yumi, everyone completely changes their mindset.
The Yumi is divisive.
It's like the gauntlet has been thrown. It's like, guys, I knew we were trying, but were we really trying before if we're not picking Yumi, you know?
I mean, Mojo Romo's been an expert at that pick for a long time, and he finally gets an opportunity to show his worth on it. So that was definitely a performance and a half. And we will be back in just a minute for game 3. You won't want to miss it. Both these teams gearing up for a playoff matchup next week. The winner here will have side selection then. And ooh, the series has certainly been delivering.
Absolutely.
head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go, and they come so easily. Tell me what it is about you that I can't forget, but you're breaking down my walls again, just to set me free. Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Staying up when I go out, you gotta know I'm all yours. But when I say what's that about, you start slurring your words. Tell me why you have to seem so distant when I'm holding you. Your fingertips are drifting away, and I fucking love how it hurts. Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Why do I, baby, why do I, baby?
Welcome back. We are going into the draft of Game 3 of Butler versus DePaul. These teams split down the middle for the first two. DePaul taking Game 1, Butler bouncing back Game 2. Walk me through what's happened in the draft so far, Toxic
Yes,
Turtle.
so far it's been all the same standard picks, except notably, Yumi has been banned away from Butler this time. What a shock. Yumi is a disgusting champion that everyone hates, and if you play Yumi, you should feel bad. Not
Throwing
actually.
shade.
It's all jokes. It's all jokes. It's all jokes. But no, for real, Yumi is an absolute powerhouse in the meta, so it's no surprise we see her banned. On the same side, Butler bans away Draven from DePaul, which was the pick that ran them over in Game 1, which signals to me that Butler wants to pick Vayne.
But Jinx is available.
Jinx is open. There's Jinx. Okay, perfect. Finally,
You were talking about it.
Jinx. I was talking in Game 1. In Game 1, Butler banned Jinx, even though they were on blue side, and I thought that was a mistake, because you can pick blue 1 Jinx, and it's very hard to counter.
Oh, they're picking the Cog Lulu for King Amazing IonQ. King Amazing thinks he's got the fingers, thinks he's got the kiting skills to bust out Cog Lulu and take over this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Cog Lulu is less strong than it was last season, but I think it's still a very powerful pick, especially into something like the Jinx, who can't really contest it. The problem is that Kog'Maw kind of really suffered from the lethal tempo changes. Kog'Maw really loved the old lethal tempo because the duration of lethal tempo lined up really well with the duration of his W, so you could throw like an R or an E or a Q to proc tempo, and then you W at the same time your tempo procs, and then you would get the full 120% attack speed for the entire duration of your W and run people over. But now, he's sort of stuck in this really awkward scenario where most of your W is spent ramping up your lethal tempo, and then by the time your lethal tempo is maxed out, your W is wearing off, and now you're just lethal tempoed with regular autos, and that's awkward. So I might actually expect to see Hail of Blades come out from Kog'Maw for the stronger early game pressure. Because you can just walk up, Hail of Blades, auto 3 times, and it's a deceptively strong trade in lane.
So, walking through the rest of this draft, we
Mhm.
have Hecarim selected from the side of Butler, pick we saw that was used to great success last game. Nautilus from Ojo the first time we're going to see him on an Engager this series. But DePaul answered it with a pick that I think is curious, but one we've seen Reaper bust out before, and it's the Kindred, another carry locked in, with this Cog Lulu. Do you think that works with this team comp?
I think
Do
it
you
was
see
great.
the angle here?
Kindred has a really great double dynamic inside of this Cog Lulu comp. Number one, it provides an alternate win condition, right? One of Kog'Maw's main weaknesses is that he is very susceptible to getting dove, right? Nautilus, Hecarim, Jinx is going to hard focus the bot lane. And if Kog'Maw falls victim to that and falls behind, he's not going to be able to carry. And Kindred provides this backup win condition where if Kog'Maw gets behind, Lulu can buff up the Kindred instead. Additionally, if Kog'Maw gets ahead and is getting chain dove by this exact exemplifies what I'm going to say, by something like a Vladimir and the Hecarim and the Nautilus, right? Kindred R is the perfect answer for keeping your Kog'Maw alive, right? You hold on to your Lulu R and your Lulu shield until after the Kindred R wears off, and now Kog'Maw gets to mow people down in invincibility, and then once everyone is low HP, then you Lulu R the Kog'Maw, you Lulu E the Kog'Maw, he becomes huge and then cleans up the last little remnants of the fight.
Mm-hmm. And a set locked in. I actually really, really like that pickup.
Yes,
That
that's really good.
gives a big beefy front line to protect the Kog'Maw, the Kindred, the Victor, and he can just create space and keep people away from the carries. Like
Mhm.
imagine after this Kindred alt wears off, you get a big face breaker into or is his clap together the face breaker into the
That is the face
big
breaker.
punch. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are big ways to decide a fight, but you have to be extremely coordinated to make that work, right? So
Mhm.
I think a lot of that will come down to execution for the side of DePaul. I wonder, on the side or on Butler's team comp, we have Vladimir locked in, which is a pick we haven't seen, used frequently for a while now. And
Mhm.
then this time the Lane Graves. So how do these picks line up with the ideas of trying to win through a Jinx, a Hecarim, and a Nautilus?
I definitely prefer DePaul's lineup here. Um, I think that Jinx with a Nautilus is not going to be able to outscale Cog Lulu, right? Normally, Jinx can definitely compete with Cog scaling, but when you have that Enchanter, that Lulu buffing him up, it definitely becomes very DePaul favored. Kindred R into Vladimir is amazing. This Vladimir pick, I'm going to be honest, makes no sense to me because Kindred completely denies him, right? When Vladimir R's you, it's just like this giant signal, like, oh, just press Kindred R when the Vlad R is about to pop, and then you're just gonna be fine. You're gonna get healed completely back up, and then you can run over the fight after. Set completely denies Hecarim and Nautilus from getting value, while also providing engage onto Jinx, who's usually pretty hard to get access to for the relatively immobile composition on the side of DePaul. And I just think that normally the way you would beat a comp like DePaul's is to beat them early game because you have a Cog Lulu and a Kindred and a Victor, right? But Butler just opted into competing with DePaul in scaling with a comp that I don't feel outscales. So I think they're just going to lose in a slow, grindy game.
Well, we said the same thing last game about how Butler picked this sort of in between. They weren't fully focused on early game, they weren't fully focused on scaling, but they ended up finding opportunities, picks, and busting open the game and running over to Paul. So I think the draft is definitely a little more even. We don't see a
Mhm.
Vayne locked in this time, and um, you know, DePaul
I think
has the victor in this matchup. So there's definitely I'd say a much closer draft between the two teams. Um,
I'd say the
yeah.
main difference between this game and last game is that last game there was a Yumi buffing the Hecarim, turning
Mhm.
him into just something that can run away with the game if he gets ahead. This game, there's nothing like that. There's not even any enchanter to buff him up, so he's going to be big and he's going to be scary, but he's not going to be like the 1v3 threat that we saw last game. And additionally, with a Graves in the top lane, that will also not aggressively run away with the game in the same way that a Camille can, because he just doesn't have the mobility, right? Graves can pressure you off of farm. He can pressure you with just standing somewhere and zoning you and saying you're not allowed to walk into me. But he doesn't have that mobility that the Camille does to actively make plays and accelerate the game. So I think Butler's comp isn't able to abuse DePaul's comp in the mid game nearly as well as their last one was. And so DePaul is going to have a much easier time scaling up and then contesting with superior late game champions.
How does the early game of this Kindred versus Hecarim stack up? Because we saw last game,
Mhm.
Reaper had this really, really smart invade on the Graves, but after, trading his potential advantage in camps for a lot of pressure in the bot lane, right, Levi was actually able to come in and get really, really far ahead on the Hecarim. You mentioned um, there is no Yumi this time to buff up the Hecarim, but the Hecarim does have an invade buddy with the Nautilus, and Kindred is a
Mhm.
little more susceptible than Graves, right? No true grit and a little squishier in terms of just raw health. Do you think that Butler potentially has more opportunities for invading this game than last game?
I think that there's definitely a possibility. The problem, right, is that if you look at lane prio, it's probably going to be pretty favored in terms of DePaul, right?
Mhm.
Enchanters are probably going to be like a Lulu who can aggressively poke down a Nautilus, a Kog'Maw who can aggressively poke down a Nautilus, is probably going to be better at managing waves than the Jinx Nautilus is going to be able to, just because that melee champion inherently wants to create a longer lane where they can run down their opponents in an extended all in, which means they're probably not going to have prio. Top lane Set is just probably going to be the king of prio. His passive is going to allow him to soak a lot of the Graves poke from those auto attacks and
So,
come out with a perfectly fine amount of health. And then he can contest the Graves. Graves should be able to get the shove with his Q though, so we'll
so
have to
before
see how that
you're
plays out.
you're running down this matchup, I actually really, really like what Butler did here.
Mhm.
They have been known to do this, flip flopping between solo lanes. Your two solo lane players or solo lane players, they aren't mid or top. They
Mhm.
actually take the Vladimir top lane and the Graves into mid lane. So the matchup is going to be Graves into Victor
Oh,
and Vladimir into Set, which I think I like more than the other way around.
yeah, I definitely like that better. I definitely prefer that matchup. The Vladimir into the Set, Vlad isn't nearly as short range as Graves, so he's going to be much less susceptible to getting sort of face breakered in and forced to trade. And the Graves is much better at contesting Victor's wave clear, so he's going to be able to get prio. I think this matchup, this lane assignment works far, far better for the side of Paul, or for the side of Butler.
Yeah, and I think that's something we have to highlight about this team is their
Mhm.
flexibility and their they're just understanding of macro play, right? Like that is something, maybe we've seen some greedy drafts or potential individual skill, but or individual skill like deficiencies compared to St. John's or DePaul previously. But man, this team is flexible. This team, they're always doing something creative, and it should be a fun one to watch. And also heads up to see if DePaul sees how the champions are selected and actually opts to swap Set to mid, Victor to top, because we also know those champions can flip flop. So it'll be a mind game going in.
Why is there a Vayne in this game? What's going on with that? They missed the draft again, or what?
I think we will cut to a break as the players are trying to get
Yeah,
their
we'll get back to you when
champions
this game
sorted
goes
out.
live.
Yeah. Players are making some mistakes in the lobby, and it's going to be a couple minutes, so don't move a muscle. We have Butler DePaul Game 3 playoffs preview coming up after the break.
Forget about the world we're living in. Fall into oblivion. Oh, going into oblivion. Into oblivion. Forget about the world we're living in. Fall into oblivion. I'm going in. You can't fall asleep when you're counting stars. Get it together. Your mind can't sleep when you let it serve. Now you wanna see me fall. From a golden mile, I can see you at the goal. Think about it, ring will tell you what I saw. When you break it up, you'll see who had it all. You had it all. You said you wanted to fall into oblivion. Forget about the world we're living in. Fall into oblivion, oblivion. Oh, going in. Fall into oblivion. survive. Now when I look in your I feel paralyzed. Now I know it's over. I see you passing by, hand in hand, with your perfect light. My body, a ghost town, feels like someone cut out my tongue. I didn't know a heart could die this young. Oh, now when I look in your eyes, I feel paralyzed.
Welcome back, Big East fans. We are in Game 3 of Butler versus DePaul. Butler taking the last one, DePaul getting Game 1. Both these teams lined up, ready to go, and we're on the Rift.
We are out on the Rift, and it's looking like we might see some early action. A 5-stack from DePaul. I think predicting an invade from Butler. Nautilus, a champion who really does love to go for these invades, but it doesn't look like it's going to actually happen. Nothing gained, nothing lost by DePaul going for this 5-stack, as Butler is just going to chill in the early game in this level 1.
Yep, and a couple notable things. We have Kaisik going in mid lane on the Vladimir, and Jason looking to go tops. So Butler being very flexible with their solo laners, just picking whatever matchup they feel more comfortable in.
They should probably have our observer, put everyone in the right spots, because we got a little bit baited. They drafted in the wrong order. They swapped around during loading screen. So, yeah, it's going to be Graves with Teleport in the top lane, and Kaisik with Ignite in the mid lane. Predator on Vladimir. Predator is a rune that has been seeing a lot of play recently. I think it's an amazingly strong rune. It got its cooldown buffed, its damage buffed, and its move speed buffed over the course of the last few patches. So it is absolutely disgusting and on just every champion in the metagame right now.
And we can see junglers are actually starting on opposite sides of the map. So Levi over here leashing both the Gromp and the blue at the same time, while Reaper is taking his own blue and Gromp, meaning that the junglers will path towards opposite sides of the map. Reaper looking for that top lane, potentially looking for plays onto Jason or Gary, while Levi is moving towards the bot lane and looking for a more bot mid-centric approach.
Notably, something I said I could have expected but didn't come to happen is there is lethal tempo on this Kog'Maw instead of Hail of Blades, so he is opting to go for that full scaling rune, even though I'm kind of still unsure how good it is on Kog'Maw as opposed to Hail of Blades, which is just very strictly your sort of early game powerhouse rune. And we have Fleet Footwork on Jason on this Graves top, which is very standard, but a lot of people, I feel like,
dodge on the face breaker. He's moving forward. Gary's down to 200 HP.
I feel like a lot of people don't actually know the full reason Fleet Footwork is so strong on Graves top. Fleet Footwork heals 10% of its normal healing if you auto attack a minion. You only get the full healing if you auto attack a champion or a large monster. But because of how Graves' auto attacks work, if you click on set to get an auto attack, but then your auto attack hits minions, you get the full healing anyway, even though you didn't hit an enemy champion with your auto attack.
Really?
As
Oh,
Jason's
Reaper
a
in the
lot
top
of
lane.
here.
Looking for Jason. He's trying to run away.
be flash
Flash is
loan.
burned.
And
Big
luckily
cooldown.
for Reaper, the top crab is the one that gets marked. So Reaper, fortunately, winning that 50-50, probably the most important example of RNG in the game, is which crab gets the first mark for Kindred.
Yep. Truly not something you see too often in League of Legends, but Levi able
Sees
to
play here and there.
Yeah. Levi able to clean up the bottom crab and a full, just trade on the map here. Both teams pretty quiet in this early game, aside from that blown flash.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it real with you. I think it's gonna be a pretty slow game. Both teams have pretty hard scaling comps with not a ton of early agency. We did see Levi get a nice early little invade onto this wolf camp come through.
Oh
though.
my,
Now
he's
actually
going for a dive.
behind Avistar.
He's sending it. He's sending it, and he's taking a lot of turret damage, but they're going on to Avistar. He's ignited. Kaisek's about to get his Q back up. It's enough, and that's first blood. What a dive.
Yeah, very well played by the side of Butler. Everyone kind of making it out with just enough HP as Kaisek's in a lot of danger. His cool should not be up right now. Reaper going to
flash. The
hold
Reaper flash
for
is
his
forward
flash.
for the kill. Kaisek's down to next to nothing, and
Yeah,
looks like
Reaper
just
held
a
his flash
disengage.
for a while there. I think if he flashed immediately, he would have had it as a hook. Lands
Oh,
onto
King of
Mason.
Mason getting rooted up. Flash, root, Ion Q under the tower. Ion Q is running away, and Summoner's burned from the side of DePaul, but they won out on the health in the trade.
They do it out. Notably, it's Glacial Augment on the Nautilus. This new rune applies whenever you crowd control an enemy. It shoots out those slowing beams that also reduce the enemy's damage to your allies. Not to you, only to your allies. That's very important. We saw some experimentation with it when the patch first came out, and I think the consensus a lot of people reached was that they still prefer Aftershock on these melee champions, and Glacial Augment is something we see more on ranged champions like Thresh or Morgana. So it is a little bit interesting that Mojo Romo has opted to take it on Nautilus here. It's going to make him a lot less tanky than an Aftershock would, but it's going to mean Carthago is going to be in a little bit less danger, and it's going to provide even more crowd control and utility to this Nautilus.
And we can see the difference in that first kill being realized in the jungle, but Reaper
I
in
think
the
this
bot
play is
lane.
going to turn into anything.
Yeah, Reaper hasn't got any items in his inventory, so not very strong on the Kindred right now. Yep, he just takes a reset, gets his Noon Quiver, and he will be much stronger when he's back on the map with items.
But yeah, as you were talking about, that mid lane dive is paying off a lot, right? We see a 10 CS lead for Kaisek. He's up EXP, he hits level 6 first. He's able to maintain lane prio because he has that extra EXP to shove everything out. So yeah, just a really good dive by Levi, and it's paying off amazingly. Mojo Romo looking for a little bit of an angle as this next crab is spawning. 4 people on the side of Butler are present, and DePaul is a little bit late to move, as it looks like Levi is starting it up.
Notably, a TP advantage for Gary in the top lane, so watch out for that as Levi
Reaper
is
went
getting
in.
chunked low, but Kaisek, huge damage on the King of Mason. And Levi cleans it up. Mojo Romo zoning out Reaper and Agistar on the backside, but Kaisek getting a huge ultimate off.
Yeah,
onto
Kaisek
bottom.
getting another kill. In the end, it is a 1-for-1 as Mojo Romo died trying to keep Reaper off the crab. Reaper gets the crab regardless, and in the end, I'd say it's probably DePaul favored just because the crab, that mark goes the way of the Kindred, and now she's up to 2 marks. Remember, 4 marks is that first breakpoint that gives Kindred the big spike in extra damage and extra range. So that's the one to look out for. As we go back to just doing a little bit of farming, it's an 800, 900 gold lead for the side of Butler, which is a good amount this early in the game, but it's definitely not going to break anything wide open. I think what we're really waiting for is for these bot lanes to hit level 6, and then a big drag fight to break out. As
Levi looking for an invade on Reaper. Both have ultimate available. Reaper kiting backwards. Romo here to help, and
and there's
chickens
the
are won
invades we were
by
talking
Butler.
about during Champ Select, right? It's going to be the chickens going the way of Levi. Reaper falling behind a little bit on farm as he just doesn't have the pressure from his lanes, especially after Kaiser gets 2 kills or a kill and an assist for himself. He is going to be really feeling strong and going to be bullying Ajistar as well as Reaper as he's going to work on top of Levi.
Reaper finds Romo, and Reaper down to 200 HP. Levi here out of the bush coming for the ultimate. He has to pop the Lamb's Respite. Carthago as well, level 6. They do not want to look for the fight, and Blastcone gets Reaper out safely.
Yeah, and that's the power of Kindred R. It's something we're going to see for the entirety of this game, just that raw stalling potential. When you have this Lulu on your team who can save you when you're low on HP, Kindred R makes it so hard for you to die, right? Because you're just on the edge for so long, and then Lulu comes in, gives you that shield, gives you that R. We didn't even have to see Imkin blow his abilities there. Just the threat of Lulu being there to turn around the fight was enough to dissuade Butler and force him to back off. And that's going to be an ongoing theme, especially if Kaiser keeps getting fed. Kindred's ultimate, the Lamb's Respite, is going to be the main tool that DePaul has to answer that.
Yeah, and we can see in the top lane, Jason has been perma-pushing this top lane. Now he's going over to farm the Gromp. He is just playing PvE Graves. You know, he got a tower plate for himself, so he is doing really well in the top lane. Gary opting for defensive stats on the back to try to survive some of this poke, some of the range advantage that Jason has been using in the early lane. Other than that, not much action happening in the top lane.
Yep. Something King Amazon is doing that I really like is he is completely foregoing an early mythic item in favor of building a Rage Blade. Kog'Maw is a champion who kind of hates building attack damage, right? All of his damage is in his W, right? It's in applying that on-hit effect of his W. So the only thing that matters is stacking as much attack speed as possible. And every time you spend gold on attack damage, you feel kind of bad. It's kind of wasted on. So mythic items are incredibly efficient, but only for AD. Your Shield Bill Mythic, which is the most common Kog'Maw Mythic, only actually gives you 25% of attack speed, which is less than Boots. Berserker's Greed gives you 35%, but your Mythic item gives you 25, right? So it's not efficient on Kog'Maw for your damage to rush that early Mythic, and so just going for this Rage Blade is going to give you way more damage way earlier. And sure, you're going to be a little less tanky, you're going to be a little less survivable. You're going to be easier to kill because you don't have that shield and that lifesteal, but your damage is going to be noticeably stronger.
Oh, diving bot lane, Kaisik getting a lot of damage down, but teleport coming in from Ajistar, and King Amazon is kiting away with the Lulu ultimate. That's the power of that Lulu.
Lulu is, yeah.
Reaper and Gary in the top lane looking for Jason, but yeah, that Lulu just doing huge work at keeping King Amazon alive.
Yeah, which is why you don't need to go shield bow, right? You have a Lulu dedicated to keeping you alive, so you can just build full aggressive optimization. King Amazon
Romo!
Ajistar doesn't take the blast cone and doesn't flash, he just absolutely pays the price for it.
Yeah, no, that was just chain CC. Really had the plane. Jason just trying to run away from Gary and Reaper here, but he has nowhere to go. Flash is available, uses it, but Reaper is tanking up. They have the Lamb's Respite, and look at that. Reaper able to get out. Successful dive, answering back from the play that Mojo found on the Ajistar. But Levi looking for the bot lane. King Amazon down to 200 HP, looking for the kill on a Carthago. Will not find it, and Carthago cleans him up.
Yeah, it's an immediate counterattack on the bot side, but Reaper, while that dive was going on bot by the side of Butler, Reaper was taking the Rift Herald, and now it's going to pay off as top lane. They're able to cash in 4 plates for themselves, and they're also able to get this 3rd mark for the Kindred now, because they know Hecarim's on the bottom half of the map.
Oh, Jason's looking for a fight here, getting good damage on the two of them, blinds
really
them both. Has
Isaac's doing it
Kaisik on the backside.
There's no land for Spit.
this is certainly going to be a winning engagement for Butler. Who are they going to give the kill over to? It looks like Jason's going to take it, and
Jinx are used, but goes wide. Carthago really ambitious trying to get that snipe in on Reaper, but not able to find it.
And just punishing over aggression. Butler has been doing really, really well this early game at finding plays, on the other side of the map. We saw top lane, Reaper went for the play. So Levi was able to answer on the bot side and take out King Amazing. And then Gary and Reaper were trying to take that tower on the top side, but Jashin had already responded. He came back, teleported to the top lane, and Kaisik with the support. Kaisik's playing really well on this.
Now.
Oh my goodness, King Amazing. He's putting real damage in.
King Amazing, he's on his first item spike. When you look at the gold, right? Rageblade is a 2,600 gold item compared to the 3,400 gold item that Carthago is building. If you look at bot lane, right, they have basically even gold.
Oh, King Amazing getting knocked up again, and Romo finding him. Levi is trying to take him down. Carthago just barely gets away. Ion Q joined by Reaper, and they're trying to kite forward in this fight as Reaper is doing massive damage. Heal is not enough. Reaper is cutting him down. Tyson's in the bot lane. Ultimate comes out. Oh my goodness! Tyson is
on cooldown.
Yeah, and he just melted him with that empowered Q, and Agistar is taking 442 damage from that. Kaisik is massive on this Vladimir, and he is running straight through these squishy carries of DePaul.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, King Amazing is just playing with absolutely zero respect. It's how we saw them lose against Butler in the last game, and it might be their downfall again. He has mechanics, he's taking these trades, but he keeps playing like it's just a solo game, and every time Butler shows up, he's just going down with Carthago barely surviving.
Yeah, and Butler are, I would say, in the driver's seat of this game. We have a 4-0 Vladimir, a hard scaling mid laner who is, on the hard snowball at this point. Everything is looking good, right? This Jinx is about to hit her mythic item. Your Hecarim is strong. He's farming well. He's up in EXP against this Kindred. And this Kog'Maw Lulu has not been paying off as Gary's down to 120 HP, but finds the ultimate onto Jashin. And Gary is trying to bring this game back for DePaul. He finds the solo kill, and he wants to win this game. He does not want to go down without a fight.
Yeah, Gary has been playing this top matchup really well. He's survived the early game bullying of the Graves, and he's now
Reaper in the bot lane, flash forward by King Amazing. Look at that damage on the Kog'Maw. He's got the lethal tempo, he's got the Queensus, and they stood no chance. Carthago and Mojo Romo died in a blink of an eye.
I mean, yeah, this is just the difference that going for this Rageblade instead of that Shield Bow makes, right? Just the attack speed is all that matters, so King Amazing is able to pump out so much more damage than Carthago is, and he just goes down instantly. Kog'Maw, not this late game power scaling champion. I mean, he is a late game power scaling champion, but he's also incredibly strong. Kog'Maw is really strong on one item, way more than I think most people give him credit for. He can absolutely run you down in the early game if you let him. And,
you see the Drake we just got?
Yeah.
It is the Chem Fog. Dread it, love it, hate it, whatever you want, it's here. The junglers are going to be hard to see as it looks like a dive onto Reaper, getting out the Lamb's Respite, but nothing more. And a mid tower will fall, but back to the Fog. This is a very interesting addition Riot has made to the game that has changed the map. So walk me through how it works.
Yeah, so it puts these areas of fog on the map that act as...
despite breaking on the mid lane, hold it. King Amazing's going crazy. He's in the front line. He does not care. He is cutting through everyone. If that's going to be... Oh, okay. I thought that was going to be an ace, but that was a 4-for-0 as King Amazing had no fear stepping in front and just cutting down Butler.
Yeah, no Mythic Kog'Maw is really, really strong. Most importantly there, he's able to survive, and he's able to cash in the shutdown on the 4-0-2 Vladimir. So he is now up 2,400 gold on his lane opponent. while the rest of the game is completely even. And King Amazon, we've seen him fall behind in that second game, but he had great mechanics. He was making plays, he just didn't have the gold for it, and now King Amazon is going to have the mechanics, and he's going to have the gold. He's going to have a Lulu backing him up as well, and it's going to be so hard for Butler to make anything happen, because even if you find the pick on him, even if you get Kaizek to get that huge combo, that REQ, the one-shot burst, Reaper's probably going to be there with Lancer Spit, and then after that there's going to be a Lulu shield, a Lulu aura, Moonstone heal, and he's already going to be back at like half HP with a shield, right? So it's going to be so hard to actually deal with King Amazon, especially when he has a wit's end for this fed Vladimir.
Yeah, absolutely. I was, just thinking about that. He is going to be incredibly difficult to kill, and Reaper now picking up his Kraken Slayer. Both of these carries are going to be doing massive damage, and it's looking really, really good for the side of DePaul, right? They are now definitely, definitively the ones in the driver's seat. It's been 3 or 4 minutes, and the game is completely flip-flopped. 5,000 gold transferred. I think, really, if you're Kaisek here, you're going to need to find a fantastic flank. Drop the Ignite onto King Amazon early, and pair up with Levi and just pray that you have enough damage to kill King Amazon before he gets his next item, which looks like it's going to be a health item, which I can't even imagine trying to take down this Kog'Maw.
It's typically going to be a Frostfire Gauntlet. This is a pretty... I'm not going to say it's like a standard Kog'Maw build, because the standard build is, like Shield Bow, Hurricane stuff, but it's standard in terms of, like, this is the no early mythic, tanky Kog'Maw build. Is you go 2 attack speed items, you get tempo buffing your attack speed, you get Lulu buffing your attack speed, and then you just go into defensive items after that. You go into a Frostfire Gauntlet. You may even go into a Randuin's, although I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Frostfire Gauntlet into Hurricane into Randuin's, just because once you finish the Frostfire, your damage starts getting a little bit iffy again. But yeah, no, this Kog'Maw build is very powerful, and when there's these huge divers in Hecarim and Vladimir on the enemy team, it makes you unkillable through your Lulu, and then you can just turn after they've blown their initial burst of damage and mow them down with your stacked lethal tempo.
So walk me through this chem fog. Well, Jason's walking straight into Reaper and Agistar, but this chem fog.
So the fog provides zones of stealth, kind of like Evelyn, not invisibility, right? It's very similar to Akshan in that the range you can be seen inside of is very large. So if 2 people are both inside the fog, they're gonna see each other. It's not like you're just gonna get randomly killed by somebody from invisibility. The main problem is that it makes rotations unworkable.
King Amazon fought out flexing the wall. He is going down for sure, but he gets feared out of it. He is down and out of the fight, and Butler is winning this. But Gary with the stun! Carthago can't do anything on the backside of this fight as Kaisek and Carthago are running for their lives. Agistar cleaning it up, and oh my gosh, Gary saved that fight. Saved the game for DePaul.
Absolutely. The fight started out looking pretty bad. Their main carry, their Fed champion, got picked off. He wasn't inside the Lamb's Respite, so he ended up fully dying, but Gary, with an insane teleport flag, R's the Hecarim onto 3 people, gets a face breaker and a W after, and just completely reverses the play. It ends up being super DePaul favored. They get a tower after it as well with that Rift Herald, and now they get to reset, spend their gold, and keep up the pressure. It's going to be a Baron dance coming up next as that objective has fully spawned, and probably a wake-up call to King Amazon. I don't think we're going to see him that far out of position, aggressively walking mid lane probably ever again, as Predator Hecarim can go from a mile away to on top of you before you have time to react to that Predator being over your head.
Very true, and Ion Q is sticking right by his side. He doesn't want to let that happen again. And coming out of that fight, we could see item completions coming through, right? Cosmic Drive completed for Agistar, Bambi Cinder for King Amazon, and you know, Butler, they're still working with scraps on their second items, except for
You know the
Kaisik.
best part about building Frostfire Gauntlet on Kog'Maw is it makes you bigger, and it looks really stupid. It gives you increased size.
That's hilarious. You're just this big old walking pug.
Yeah, it's just a big old, but what the dog doing? He's just walking around. And yeah, okay, so here we see
Hung out,
Pink
goofing
Ward.
and
A
gaffing.
Pink Ward was just placed by Reaper inside of this Chemsoul Fog, and if we just look at the inventories, by the way, so many Pink Wards from the side of DePaul compared to the side of Butler. They're going to have absolute dominance over Butler in terms of vision. And yeah, so when you're inside this camouflage, regular wards will not spot you, but Pink Wards will.
Mojeromo is getting caught out by Reaper, and Reaper has the damage to cut him down, but uses the ultimate, disengages, and big cooldown taken away from Butler as DePaul are winning the River War for Vision.
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, Avishar with the danger. He has a crowd. He might want to try and cut out. He'll survive the initial
Jason getting
curse.
really low in this fight. The Chaos Storm is taking him down. One more tick will do it. Levi
Not quite able
trying
get it,
to
though.
find the kill, but Avishar running away, flashing over the wall. Nobody's there to clean him up. Will Carthago sent out the ultimate looking for the kill as Kaisik and Gary are duking it on top lane. Gary is certainly getting the best of this one. Kaisik
He's getting it for
healing back
now, but
up.
Isaac's healing coming in.
Oh!
Junior dies. They were trying to take Baron the whole time. It's a reset for Carthago.
That's the double kill, and Kaisik kiting forward, but King Amazing taking him down. No, he uses the pool to
Look
get
how
out.
strong this tanky Kog'Maw is. You just can't die
Can't kill
here.
him. Look at that. Percentage health, lethal tempo, Guinso stack. He's just spitting all over the team, and nobody can deal with the Dogma.
The Dogma, absolutely. And yeah, it's just so hard to actually kill this Kog'Maw. Even though Reaper goes down, there's just too much gold on King Amazing here. And with another triple kill in his pocket, leading the farm 9 CS per minute, he's just gonna keep getting stronger. Yeah.
12,500 gold.
He's 4,000 ahead of Carthago on this Jinx, so I fully expect him to recall. He's sitting on 2.2 thousand right now, so it's probably going to be a recall to buy, if I had to guess, a Zeal in the inventory. He's pretty close to getting a Hurricane, which I think will be the next item. Maybe a Phantom Dancer instead, as it's actually going to be a Guardian Angel. He picks up a Stopwatch. Oh no, he wants to Stopwatch, he's getting the Zeal.
Yeah, kill
I
this
think that makes a lot more
Dogma.
sense,
He's
yeah.
gonna get shields. He's gonna have his flash up. He's gonna have a stopwatch. There is no way he is falling in this next fight unless he is
Absolutely.
grossly out of position.
Yeah, which is just the complete threat of this team comp, right? I said DePaul had the advantage in the long scaling game, and that Butler wouldn't really be able to make anything happen in mid-game, and that's kind of how things have played out. They had a pretty slow mid-game. They were in the lead for a little while, then a lot of gold went to King Amazing, and now they really just can't do anything about it. This Protect the Kog'Maw comp is just too strong.
I think a lot of that comes down to the mid lane play we saw, where they were looking for the tower,
Absolutely.
but Butler is setting up to contest this dragon here, and you know, I think this has to be the final stand for Butler. You either win this and you get your way back into the game, or it's over, right? There is already a 4,000 gold lead. If you lose this fight, there is going to be a Baron take, and you're going to lose your inhibs. And
Worst comes to worst, it's not the soul, but oh, that's a lot of damage on Reaper. He's gonna
yeah,
get
but
killed
the
off.
dragon is
The
going down
dragon's
fast.
dying.
Butler's going to have to make an engage. Romo flashes over the wall. He's looking for a fight, but he is going down instantly to King Amazing. King Amazing is got the lethal tempo stack. Oh, Kaisik with a really nice flank, but the Lamb Respite keeping the whole team alive. They're healing up. Jinx is going off. Oh my goodness, Carthago finds them all in the Respite, and that is a triple kill to Carthago.
Blue team double kill.
Ooh, yeah. Great initial engage, and a great start to the fight by DePaul, right? You have King Amazing free hitting the Nautilus, stacking up his tempo before anything starts. The main problem that happened was King Amazing used his stopwatch inside of a Kindred Eye. There was a major miscommunication. And so King Amazin wasn't able to put out DPS while he was completely safe inside the Kindred R, and then once it wore off, he didn't have a stopwatch to keep himself safe afterward. So he went down without putting out nearly as much damage as he could have, and that made all the difference, because once that Kindred R ended, everyone was just 1 HP, and Carthago was free firing rockets into the pit. He got multiple resets, everyone died, and now it's gold going back in the favor of Butler. They cash in shutdowns. It's only a 2,000 gold lead, but importantly, the Chem Dragon did still go to DePaul, and so they're on Soul Point. I don't know if you know this. The Chem Soul has a 3% higher win rate than the next Soul. It is disgustingly powerful. Chem Soul is currently sitting at a 92% win rate, which means if you get it, you are so disgustingly ahead of your opponents.
I mean, yeah, you get everybody with the Scion passive.
It's like better than Scion passive because you can cast abilities. It's so insane.
Kill everyone twice while they're coming out of a Lamb's Respite. Like, I don't see it happening. Imagine Kog'Maw getting resurrected with a Lulu next to him and just getting those shields all over again.
Yeah, even if you pick off Kog'Maw at the start of the fight, he's just gonna run you down anyway. Like, there's no way to answer this team comp if they get this Chem Soul. So what's gonna happen is there's gonna be a Baron dance.
They're starting Baron.
4 or 5 minutes. They're starting Baron. I don't know if they're gonna be able to get this in time though, as we see.
Kaisek getting caught out by King Amazin.
Getting caught it, and this is
really early, and this is disaster. Butler
Carthago's
going to get taken down here as they are way out of position, and that was, they just started Baron on full vision.
Yeah, I don't know what the goal was. I was about to say there's gonna be a Baron dance for a while, and then Dragon's gonna spawn, and then the game's gonna come down to a fight for Soul, but Butler completely ignores that. They just decide to pull the trigger in a time when they absolutely have no right to do so. They get run over. It's a 2-for-0 fight. Baron goes the way of DePaul, and now they're gonna have this Baron buff for the Dragon spawn. So the Soul's almost guaranteed going to go their way as well, and I think that's really the nail in the coffin.
Pushing up in the middle of mid lane. Oh, Lamb's Respite, Reaper, King Amazin in the backline doing massive damage. Kaisek and Jason are super low. Oh my goodness. And Agistar takes him down. Now it's just 3 members standing against the 4 strong of DePaul, and they have the Baron buff. This could easily be an inhib falling here.
It could be an inhib. They're going to wait for this next wave. But yeah, they just have an absolute numbers advantage. No one can wave clear these minions. King Amazin has a ton of range, so the tower at the very least is going to fall. The inhib may fall after it. And then it's just going to be a rotation, a quick little reset, spend your money after the fight, spend your Baron gold, and then go straight to Dragon, get the Chem Soul, and just very methodically proceed forward and clean up the game.
Yep.
Look at how big Kog'Maw is. He's a big boy.
He is a big boy, but you know who else is a big boy? Kaisek.
Kog'Maw, he has a lot of items.
He is full build. That
is
true.
He's full build.
He is full build. About to have Flash and Barrier available.
Kog'Maw only has, 5 health bars. He has his regular one, and then a Lulu health bar, and then a Kindred health bar, and then a Guardian Angel health bar, and then he's about to get a Chem Soul health bar as well, so I don't know what Butler can do to answer this threat.
Find a pick. Or
I guess it
a
has
5-man
to be,
Vladimir ult. I think those are your...
They have to make some miracle steal happen on this fight. Levi has
Butler,
to get it, but they're getting zoned.
This is certainly the fight that is going to decide the game, as Kaisek is in the front line.
No one's on a flank though, it's just a straight front to back, and that has to favor DePaul.
It's going to come down to the smite. Is early pull by Kaisek, but Butler got the Dragon. Kog'Maw going off in the backside. King Amazin cutting them down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gary on to Carthago. Carthago can't run anywhere. He's taken down. It's an ace. And that is going to be victory to DePaul.
Isaac gets the Dragon and denies the soul, but it doesn't matter because it's a 3-for-5 ace. In the end, no one is able to touch King Amazin in the backline. And since they already took that inhibitor, it's going to be an easy march down mid lane. King Amazing, your Kog'Maw could actually tank the towers to keep the minions alive. It's going to be gay. Maybe the more logical decision. But either way, it's going to be the end of the game, and it's going to be DePaul in a little bit of a scary series for them, clutching out the win in the end.
Yeah, this sets up next week very, very well. You know, Butler definitely the underdogs in the series.
Absolutely.
Took a very clean game 2, played a very competitive game 3, but DePaul really showed their class in this game, right? They made some mistakes, but they found ways back into it, right? They were consistent, especially in that mid to late game. You know, we saw Butler get a little antsy. They randomly started that Baron. They fought around that mid tower, and King Amazing's prowess and mechanical skill shined through on this Kog'Maw pick, and he looked unbelievable in this third game.
Yeah, I think Kog'Maw is a champion that is incredibly sleeper right now. I think he has so much potential with Jinx running around and Vayne running around in all of these games. I think Kog'Maw is sort of the even greedier scaling pick that can absolutely carry games like we just saw. So congratulations to DePaul for pulling out that win. We are a little bit behind, so we're going to skip our interview and get straight into prepping the next game. So don't go anywhere, because who do we have coming up next? I know it's an important match. It's a fight for
It is
playoffs.
the last playoff spot in the Big East playoffs that is going to be happening next weekend. We have Marquette and Seton Hall taking on each other. Both of these teams have been fighting tooth and nail all semester for this spot, and it's going to be a banger series. You won't want to miss it.